A very good evening to all my dear students. Welcome to today's session. And students, today is my last session with all of you for this batch number 5 of the LBC classes. So I hope that whatever we have done so far in a number of lectures that the chapters that we have covered so far, I hope that you are able to understand, you are able to, get confidence with respect to the chapters that we have covered. Okay, so I can see Hitesh, Meghana, Anushka, Simran, Annie, Khushi, Siddhant, Banbrady, Karthik have already joined. So a very good evening to all of you. So students, there are a number of topics in this chapter. So I'll do one thing. I'll quickly start, Hannah, with today's session because a number of topics are to be covered. And as I have already told you in the last session, that is the first session for this chapter, that the topics that you have already covered in till chapter number 11, Hannah. So I'll not be taking them again. Hannah, why? There are topics that you have already covered till chapter number 11 because we have discussed that audit of banks is been conducted in this chapter, Hannah. So audit कैसे करना है वो तो same ही रहेगा ना. So whatever essays you have seen, essay 300, 315, 320 relating to materiality, 315 relating to identifying and assessing the risk of material misstatement, then 500 series relating to audit evidence, Hannah. So all that will remain the same, Hannah. So I'll not repeat those topics as such, but yes, the topics which are peculiar, which are specifically in this chapter only, the topics that definitely need an explanation from my side, I'll definitely take them up, Hannah. I'll take them up in detail. I'll explain all the new terminologies that have been used in this chapter. Okay? So, so a very important chapter and very scoring also, Hannah, because this is a quite technical chapter. So it is expected that you may get straightforward questions from this chapter, Hannah. So believe me, students, this chapter is very, very scoring, Hannah. If you are aware about the concept as to what is this concept, Hannah, what is meant by out of order, you may get a direct question that when a cash credit or override facility becomes out of order, Hannah. If you are aware as to what is takeout finance, we will be doing that in today's session. So you need to have an understanding about the concept. You may get a direct question and then quick answers. You can quickly answer them, and these are easy marks which can be obtained. So please do not leave this chapter as students usually do. Okay? Basic understanding चाहिए bank audit का, because in detail you will be doing this chapter in your finance, Hannah. The understanding that you need, we will be discussing each and every topic in today's session. Like in the last session, we have covered a very important topic of advances. Today we'll be covering all the topics that need explanation from my side. Okay? So chalo, let us quickly start. So in the last session, we have done the topic of advances, whereby we saw about the various types of advances, right? Then when an asset is to be classified as NPA, that various types of security, mode of creation of security. I have left 2-3 topics which I'll be taking up today. So you all are aware, we have discussed in the last session that when a term loan is to be considered as NPA, or when a cash credit or overdraft facility is to be considered as NPA. Okay? So NPA to consider kar liya. Now what next? So when an asset has been considered as an NPA now, so basically it will have two impact. So first of all, the bank will be required to make a provision on the NPA, non-performing asset. Okay? How much, what will be the percentage of the provision depends upon the category where the NPA falls. Okay? And we will be discussing that. Further, when an asset has been classified as NPA, it will have an impact on income recognition, which again we will be doing today in detail. Okay? So let us quickly have a look at the impact when the asset is considered as non-performing asset on the provisions. So see, basically, since there are some credit weakness in the advances, that is why they are considered as what? NPA. Credit weakness, I mean that there is a possibility that either the principal repayment or the interest, the bank may not be able to get that. Okay? So when an asset is considered as NPA, from that date till 12 months, it will be what? It will be classified as what? Substandard asset. So non-performing asset to आपने बना दिया उसको, but there are three categories: substandard asset, doubtful asset, and loss assets. Okay? So when an asset becomes NPA for a period of equal to or less than 12 months, it will be what? Substandard asset, and a provision of 15% is to be made. Why provision is required, students? See, there is a doubt that the bank may not be able to recover the income which is due on behalf of that advance. है ना? तो एक प्रोविजन क्रिएट करके चलना पड़ेगा ना कि इफ लेटर ऑन दैट एसेट इज नॉट एबल टू रियलाइज एनीथिंग टू द बैंक, है ना? तो एक प्रोविजन हम क्रिएट करेंगे सो एज टू शो अ ट्रू पिक्चर ऑफ द प्रॉफिट्स, राइट? सो in case of substandard asset, that is when an asset become NPA till 12 months, it will be what? Substandard asset. So provision of 15% of the outstanding balance will be created with respect to that asset. Now, when an asset continues to remain in the substandard category for a period of 12 months, it is what? It becomes doubtful asset, right? Then the doubtful asset is further classified as D1, D2, D3, which is doubtful up to 1 year, doubtful up to 1 to 3 years, and doubtful for more than 3 years. Okay? Now here, students see, substandard mein kya hai? There is some credit weakness, and the banks may suffer loss because principal repayment, it might be possible the principal is not repaid or income might not be received. Now, with respect to doubtful assets, there is more credit weakness. Chances of bank not recovering such amounts is even more. So the percentage of provision will also increase. Okay? So with respect to the unsecured portion, it will be 100% provision the bank will have to provide. ठीक है, एंड प्लीज ये ना ऐसे इसको लिंक कर लेना because there is some spacing mistake here. So with respect to doubtful, the categories of doubtful NPAs up to 1 year, with respect to secured portion, a provision of 25% is to be made by bank. Doubtful, which are from 1 to 3 years, a provision of 40% on the secured portion. So unsecured with a total 100% is to be prepared, is to be provided for. And for the NPAs which are in the doubtful category for more than 3 years, 100% provision. So secured will be 100% आएगा and unsecured will be. ठीक है? Now the third category is what? Loss assets. Loss assets क्या है? That the chances of recovery is just negative. It is just a zero. आ ही नहीं सकता है पैसा. And how? Where the loss has been identified by the bank. Bank has identified that this is a loss asset, or internal external auditors, or RBI inspection, then and the amount has not been written off, then the bank needs to provide 100% provision with respect to loss assets. So this is a kind of sequence कि एक बारी NPA हो गया है एक asset, एक advance, then substandard till 12 months, then for the period when it remains substandard for a period of 12 months, it will be considered as doubtful asset, and then loss assets. Okay? And these are the provisions that the bank are required to make with respect to the non-performing asset in this sequence. Okay? Now, students, one more topic we have left in the next session, in the last session, which is a kind of exception to this sequence. So we have seen that this sequence is to be followed, that agar 12 months ke liye or less than for a period of 12 months NPA है तो वो substandard है. 12 months के लिए substandard है तो doubtful है. Doubtful का then there is a 3 D1, D2, D3 and then loss assets. However, there is an exception that this sequence may not be followed and the asset may be straightforward, straight away classified as doubtful in this situation or as loss assets in this situation. So now we'll be discussing the two situations. Okay? So see, we have seen that when an advance is given, the borrower, he gives a primary security or a collateral security. So security is given to the bank, to the lender. Why? Because in order the borrower is not able to pay back the loan, that is the principal and the interest amount, then at least the bank has the security. है ना? But tell me, if there is significant erosion, reduction in the value of the security, security तो है जिसके बेसिस पे लोन दिया था, अब वो सिक्योरिटी की वैल्यू ही एकदम से रिड्यूस हो गई है. सो व्हाट इज टू बी डन? सो व्हाट इज द टॉपिक सी? Accounts where there is erosion, reduction in the value of security or frauds committed by the borrower. तो क्या करना है? So erosion is gradual destruction or diminution of something, not prudent to follow stages of asset classification. Since security का value इतना कम आ गया, it is not prudent. Prudent is what? It is not wise to follow the stages of asset qualification. ऐसा नहीं है that bank should wait कि पहले तो substandard ही करना है, फिर doubtful करना है, फिर loss करना है, नहीं. RBI said that when there is the gradual destruction or diminution in the value of something, then आप उसको straightforward as doubtful assets you can consider that. You can say, I mean the bank, when in the first case, see, when the residual value of the security is less than 50% of the value that was there in the last inspection done by RBI or the last value that has been accepted by RBI, उससे अगर less than 50% रह जाता है residual value, then in that way such NPAs needs to be straightforward classified as doubtful category. है ना? वहां पर आपको स्टैंडर्ड करने की जरूरत नहीं है. So see, if the erosion in the value of security can be reckoned as significant, reckoned is considered as significant when the realizable value of the security is less than 50% of the value assessed by the bank or accepted by RBI at the time of last inspection. है ना? उससे 50% less than 50% of the value हो गया है, तो वो क्या हो जाएगा? Straightforward, it will be classified as doubtful category of NPA and provisions will be made accordingly. Right? The next situation says that where the realizable value is even less than 10%. So it is as good as there is no security, ना? Less than 10%. है ना? 1 lakh का loan है, 10,000 से भी कम value है. So in that case, such asset, such advance shall be considered as what? Loss asset, and 100% provisioning is to be made with respect to that asset. ठीक है? तो ये वाला topic also we have left, and I expect that you have understood it. तो अभी हमने क्या किया है? That what is the provisioning that is to be made with respect to NPA, but this sequence, this asset classification stage might not be followed where in these two situations. ठीक है? Now there is a very, very important point which we have left in the last session with respect to classification of NPAs, and students, you may get this as a true false, MCQ, descriptive type, or case scenario, anything can come. Okay? So first is classification as NPA should be based on record of recovery. What does it say? Suppose the borrower is, let's say, Mr. Ambani. He is having the net worth is so high of Mr. Ambani, but when a loan that has been taken by him is overdue for, let's say, more than 90 days, then the bank should consider the record of recovery. The net worth of the borrower or the guarantor is not to be taken on into account for the purpose of treating as advance. कि इसके पास तो बहुत पैसे, इसकी तो net worth बहुत ज्यादा है, तो ये कैसे NPA हो सकता है? नहीं. This is not the case. The NPA should be based on record of recovery in the books of the bank. है ना? बैंक की बुक्स में इंटरेस्ट पेमेंट, प्रिंसिपल रीपेमेंट रेगुलर है या नहीं. In case of term loan, if it is overdue for more than 90 days, then it will be NPA irrespective of the net worth of the borrower. है ना? कितना ही net worth है borrower का, guarantor का, that is not to be considered, but the record of recovery needs to be considered. Simple है, logical है ना? And in the books of the bank. Now the next point, again very, very important. See, asset classification should be borrower wise and not facility wise. All facilities, including investments in securities, would be treated as NPA. So Mr. Ram is there, to whom, let's say, 4 loans have been given by bank. So let's say a housing loan, a cash credit facility, a term loan, and a car loan. 4 loans are given. So when Mr. Ram defaults in payment of one of such loan, that is one of his facility being availed by him from the bank, is considered as NPA, the other facilities will also become NPA. They also need to be considered as NPA. So asset classification will be borrower wise. Why? Because a bank knows now that with respect to one loan, so and so, like Mr. Ram in our case, he has defaulted in repayment of principal, and a period of 90 days have also elapsed since it became overdue. Hana? So the bank needs to consider all the credit facilities that have been availed by Mr. Ram as NPA. So asset classification will be what? Borrower wise, not facility wise कि उसका सिर्फ home loan को आपने NPA करना है. So this example beautifully explains it. देखो, Mr. Raman has availed two loan facilities, a car loan as well as housing loan from XYZ Bank Limited. He is regular in depositing housing loan, but has not deposited last 4 EMIs of car loan due to paucity of funds. Hence, in this case, not only the car loan, but the housing loan would be treated as NPA, although it is going good and there is no irregularity because the NPA classification is borrower wise. Matlab, Mr. Raman as a borrower, as an individual, and not facility wise कि car का करना है या housing loan का. तो borrower, a person will represent whether NPA करना है या नहीं with respect to all the facilities that have been availed by him. ठीक है? Correct, Pooja. Whatever you have mentioned, it is correct. So it is more than 90 days, है ना? ठीक है? So is it clear? So we have left this. Now I have asked you to put 2 stars here. एक ये वाला point था, and with respect to, so these are very important points which we will be doing just now. So advances now we have done in detail. We have covered the provisioning. We have covered the exceptions to the stages of asset classification. And we have seen that NP classification, the asset classification should be what? Borrower wise, not facility wise. Further, it should be based on record of recovery rather than the net worth of the borrower or the guarantor. Okay? And this all was, I have asked you to go on through the entire chapter from page number 12.21 to 36. I am expecting that you all have gone through it. Okay? ठीक है, तो स्टूडेंट्स आई विल बी टेकिंग अप योर डाउट्स एट द एंड ऑफ द सेशन, है ना. अभी बहुत कुछ कवर करना है एंड आई एम श्योर कि एज एंड व्हेन आवर डिस्कशन विल गो फर्दर, many of your doubts will be resolved. उसके बाद after the session send me your doubts again अगर वो फिल भी रहते हैं तो. ठीक है. Now we have considered what advances, है ना. Advances, I told you in the first session that advances is a very important part of the balance sheet of a bank, है ना. So deposits is also a very important part, but as such in your course advances का aspects, auditing aspects are in detail which we have covered. Now audit of revenue items. So we are now discussing what? The profit and loss account. And we have seen this in our first session that subsection 1 of section 229 of the Banking Regulation Act requires the preparation of P&L in Form B of third schedule to the Act. So students, here I would like to pause here for a second and I would like to inform you that I have uploaded the MCQs descriptive questions along with the answers today itself, and you can go through those questions in the break, Hana, because I'm sure that today, because of the paucity of time, I will not be able to take each and every question. So yes, doubt I can always take. And why I pause here, because I have given this question also as one of the MCQs, Hana. So this topic reminded me of the fact that I need to inform you that the questions have been uploaded. So please go through it. Okay. So profit and loss account, the bank has to prepare as per Form B of third schedule to the Banking Regulation Act 1949. Don't get confused. Schedule 3 to the Companies Act 2013. वहाँ पर भी Schedule 3 है. But यहाँ कैसे है? Third schedule to the Banking Regulation Act 1949. So how will the profit and loss account of a bank appear? So I have uploaded an annual report of SBI. So see, this is the profit and loss account of SBI. So these are the figures of the, so I'm not able to write on this sheet, but these are the figures of previous year and the current year. So see, income part will come. Income consists of interest earned. So I'll zoom it. Okay. And other income. Okay. Then expenditure, you know that expenditure कैसे होगा, जो भी deposits हैं उसके ऊपर interest expended, operating expenses, provisions and contingencies. Then profit, net profit will come, and then the appropriations, that is the mandatory transfers to various reserves is to be done. Okay. So this is the way how the PNL will appear, and this is given in your module also. So income consists of what? Interest on advances, interest on investments, and whatever kind of interest is there, all the interest will come here, and any income apart from interest income will come here. Then expenditure is interest expended, operating expense, provisions, then net profit for the year, and then all the mandatory transfers that the bank is required to be made. Okay. Now students, see, now I have asked you in the last session that till chapter number 8, whatever you have done, whether that will apply to a bank or not, so you all said yes. Now, in chapter number 9, audit of items of financial statements, where you have seen that what all assertions the auditor checks with respect to the P&L item, with respect to the income item, with respect to the expenses item. Same way here also the auditor will conduct the audit with respect to income and expense item. Okay. So as I've told you that the specific points, I'll be taking them in detail. Otherwise, rest is all same as you have done in your chapter number 9. So interest earned will consist of what? Very simple. It will consist of what? The interest or discount on advances or bills. Hana? The interest on investments. In the very first session, I told you कि deposits लेता है bank और advances और investments में ही तो majorly the lending activity and the investment are the major assets of a bank balance sheet. Okay? Then interest on balances with RBI and other interbank funds. So where the bank, for which you are conducting the audit, it has maintained certain balances with RBI or it has given certain funds to other banks. So the bank, our bank for which we are conducting the audit, it will be generating certain interest income on that now. So that will also form part of this interest earned, and any kind of interest or discount which is not included here. So other miscellaneous interest earned will also come here. Simple. Now with respect to other income, देखो whatever income the bank has earned during the year apart from interest earned will come here, like commission on bills for collection, commission on remittances like NEFT, RTGS, bank charges a commission, commission or mobile banking fees, credit for card or debit card fee, commission on LCs and guarantees. We have all done this in detail now. Rents from letting out lockers. Locker facilities also provided by bank. So rent with respect to that. So all these incomes. Further, profit on sale of investments, profit on revaluation of investment, profit on sale of land building, revaluation of assets, everything, any miscellaneous income will come here. So you can go through all these components of other income. And students, you might get a question that what is represented by interest earned in the balance sheet of a bank? So such an easy question, now. So easy to answer, but yes, for that you must have not left this chapter. You must have gone through this chapter. Okay? So these are the income items of a bank's P&L account. Okay? Now, what is the audit approach? So as I've told you that whatever you have done so far in your chapter number 9, audit of items of financial statement, to almost same rahega. But yes, with respect to banks, since the very nature of the bank is different, so there will be certain different points with respect to RBI guidelines, with respect to the Banking Regulation Act. So I'll be taking up that in detail. Okay. So now see what will be the auditor concern. So basically this is a summary of your chapter 9. So whatever assertions you feel that the bank, the auditor will consider with respect to an income item, it consists of that only. So it says that the auditor will obtain a reasonable assurance that whatever recorded amount of income is there that has taken place during the year, it pertains to the bank, there is no unrecorded income and appropriate amount पर है. तो ये तो आपने चैप्टर नंबर 9 में किया है. Simple है. Now, next point, important, mark it as important. In fact, this revenue certainty and this revenue uncertainty I've given you as a descriptive type question. Now, here, those 2 stars, 1 star and 2 star topic will come. है ना? Very, very important. So, please listen with concentration. Quickly, meanwhile, please send in your replies. जो भी हमने किया है समझ आ रहा है ना? ठीक है. So now, so the thumb rule in case of banks is that any income, that is the interest income, with respect to any of the advances, it need to be considered on accrual basis. That is, it is booked as it is earned. है ना? Because if there is a certainty that that income will be realized, so it will be booked as it is earned, that is on accrual basis. ठीक है? And there is a CBS, core banking system, whereby such interest is automatically accounted for in the books of accounts of the bank. है ना? Automatically credit हो जाती है income in the books of the bank. है ना? And customer का account, borrower का account क्या हो जाएगा? Debit हो जाएगा with respect to that interest amount. ठीक है? So the thumb rule is what? It will be booked on accrual basis. ठीक है? And RBI has given a direction that with respect to material income which is material, and now how is materiality defined? How is materiality defined here? It says that where the income is considered on gross basis, है ना? Then the income which exceeds 1% of total income of the bank. Gross basis means without considering cost, without deducting cost, without deducting the related cost. Just a minute. Without considering cost. ठीक है? So where the income exceeds 1% of the total income of bank, and where the income is considered net of cost after deducting the related cost, then if it exceeds 1% of the net profit before taxes, in such situation, such income becomes what? Material, and it should be considered on accrual basis as per AS9. तो अगर materiality है तो AS9 के according आप certainty के basis पे क्या करोगे? It will be considered on accrual basis. The income which is not material, it may be recognized when the same is received. ठीक है? Simple है. है ना? बहुत लॉजिकल अभी तक हमने पढ़ा. तो रेवेन्यू सर्टेनिटी सेज दैट बैंक्स रिकॉग्नाइज इनकम सच एज इंटरेस्ट, फीस, कमीशन ऑन accrual basis, that is as it is earned. It is an essential condition for accrual of income that it should not be unreasonable to expect its ultimate collection. And in modern day banking, the entries for interest income on advances are automatically generated through the batch process in CBS system. So CBS is what? Core banking solution whereby automatically income is accounted for in the books of account of the bank. ठीक है? Now, in case of revenue uncertainty, that is where the asset has been classified as NPA. Now, there is no reasonable, what was mentioned here, it is not now reasonable to expect that ultimately the interest will be collected. है ना? Uncertainty आ गया ना, because the asset has been classified as NPA. So now it will not, the income will not be booked on accrual basis, but when it is actually realized, when it is actually received. ये भी logical है कि NPA से, if you remember, we saw that NPA होने से क्या होगा? एक तो provision create करना पड़ेगा, then there will be impact on what? Income recognition. So where in other cases where there is revenue certainty, and if it is material income, as we have discussed, so RBI direction के according, that income needs to be considered on accrual basis. ठीक है? Now where there is revenue uncertainty, the income need not be considered on accrual basis, but when it is actually realized. ठीक है? Now students, listen to me carefully with respect to the 2 stars that I have asked you to mark in the last session, and very, very important. See, if you remember, with respect to the advances that has been guaranteed by central government, I told you that since these are supported by central government guarantees, then for the purpose of provisioning, they are not to be considered as, even if they are overdue for more than 90 days, provision will not be maintained. Okay? So with respect to that, provision will not be made. But students, the income recognition with respect to NPA will apply here. मतलब इसका प्रोविजन बनाने की तो जरूरत नहीं है with respect to the advances that have been guaranteed by central government guarantees which have now become NPA. So provisioning is not required, but their income recognition will not be on accrual basis, but it will be accounted for when it is actually realized. So see what is mentioned here. So this will apply to government guaranteed accounts also. तो मतलब ये जो अभी हम रेवेन्यू अनसर्टेनिटी में बोल रहे हैं ना, दैट इनकम रिकग्निशन कैश बेसिस पे होगा and not an accrual basis. So this will apply to government guarantees accounts also. And let me just take you back to that star point. अब देखो हमने कहाँ पढ़ा था. See, I am on page number 12.29, है ना? तो central government guaranteed advances where guarantee is not invoked would be classified as standard only. उसको standard ही करेंगे. किसके लिए? For provisioning. तो provision तो create करने की जरूरत नहीं है. But regarded as NPA for income recognition. तो जब overdue हो गया, वो NPA बन गया, अब उसकी income को आप accrual basis पे recognize नहीं करोगे, but when it is actually realized. समझ आती है ये बात? Now this was with respect to what? Your central government guaranteed accounts. तो provisioning तो नहीं करनी है इनकी, but इनका income recognition NPA के according होगा. ठीक है? Now with respect to advances against security, if you remember, I told you where security is a fixed deposit, term deposit, or NSC, or Indra Vikas Patra, or KVP, Kisan Vikas Patra, or LIC. Now, in that case, we will not consider them as NPA. ये तो हमने पहले ही पढ़ा था for the purpose of provisioning. And with respect to these advances, income can still be booked on what? Accrual basis. So an exception whereby you will not make a provision, whereby you can consider the income on accrual basis. गवर्नमेंट गारंटी में अक्रूवल बेसिस पे तो नहीं करना है ना, इनकम रिकॉग्निशन के लिए तो दे आर एनपीएस. हाउएवर इन केस ऑफ द एडवांसेस अगेंस्ट सिक्योरिटीज लाइक टर्म डिपॉजिट, एनएससी, इंद्र विकास पत्र, एलआईसीज, द इनकम मे बी टेकन इनटू अकाउंट ऑन अक्रूवल बेसिस इटसेल्फ. समझ आता है? सो द ओनली एक्सेप्शन जहां पर आपको एनपीए का कुछ भी नहीं करना है, एसेट रिकॉग्निशन, एसेट प्रोविजनिंग भी नहीं करना है, एंड इनकम रिकॉग्निशन को भी चेंज नहीं करना है. Clear? So this is the only exception. ठीक है? Now students tell me, when an asset was into the standard category, है ना? पहले regular था ना? उसके बाद for 3 months it was not able to, it was overdue for more than 90 days, मतलब 3 months के लिए कोई payment नहीं आया, then it is classified as NPA. ठीक है? Now based on this rule, अभी तक तो it was not classified as NPA ना, that means CPS system must have recognized its income on accrual basis, है ना? वो interest income तो account for हो रही होगी ना for the 3 months. ठीक है? After that it is considered as NPA ना, तब आप system में feed कर दोगे ना कि now it is to be considered as NPA. So here the income which has been considered on accrual basis will now be reversed. अब उसको reverse कर देंगे ना, because accrual basis पे आपने उसको consider कर लिया था. So see, very, very important. When a credit facility is classified as non-performing for the first time, interest accrued and credited to income account. Why? Because CBS है, automatically interest accrue हो गया होगा and account for हो गया होगा in the corresponding previous year, which has not been realized, should be reversed or provided for. It should be reversed or provided for, and this will apply to government guaranteed accounts only also. But जो आपका advances against securities है, वहां पर it will not apply. Clear? Is it clear? ठीक है? So अभी हमने क्या देखा? थंब रूल क्या है? मटीरियल है. मटीरियल क्या होता है? आरबीआई डायरेक्शंस ने बताया that if it exceeds, if the income is reckoned on gross basis, then if it exceeds 1% of total income, and if the income is considered reckoned on net of cost, then if it exceeds, the income exceeds 1% of net profit before taxes, then accrual basis पर ही आप करते हो. Other than this income है जो material नहीं है, उसको आप cash basis पे कर सकते हो. Revenue certainty आपने कर लिया. Now revenue uncertainty says that NPAs, since there is revenue uncertainty, AS9 को basic apply करोगे तो it should not be booked on what, recognized on accrual basis, but when it is actually realized. And जो income अभी तक आपने accrual basis पे account for कर दी है, but now since it is not realizable, it will be reversed or provided for, and this will apply to government guaranteed accounts also. So government guaranteed accounts में अगर guarantee है तो बस provision नहीं करना, income recognition NPA की तरह होगा. But advances against security में provisioning भी नहीं होगा, even if it is overdue for more than 90 days. And आपको income recognition का भी tension लेने की जरूरत नहीं है. Why? Because we have seen that अगर I gave you an example that if the loan of 10 lakhs has been taken and FD amount of 20 lakhs is there, तो margin sufficient है ना बैंक के पास, so जिससे principal repayment and interest भी cover हो सकता है. So that is the reason. Clear? So this is the directions of RBI कि जो भी material income है ना, so Hiral, this is your doubt, any material income of a bank उसको आपको accrual basis पे account for करना है. अब material क्या है? Any income which is more than, which exceeds 1% of total income of the bank, if it is considered on what, gross basis, that is without considering cost, without considering the cost. And if it is considered on net basis, then if it exceeds 1% of the net profit before tax. So this is given by RBI, and these are the direction which needs to be followed. तो यहाँ पर accrual ही लगाना है, and revenue certainty लगाना है, और revenue uncertain है तो NPAs को आपको accrual basis पे नहीं करना, cash basis पे करना है, with an exception of what, advances against securities. That's it. ठीक है? Now, with respect to bills purchased and bill for collection, there is one point which I would like to discuss. तो देखो हमने, we have discussed in the last session with respect to bills purchased and discounted. So what is bill purchase or discounted? I'll quickly repeat it. देखो, if there is an Indian exporter, है ना, he has sold the goods to foreign buyer, है ना, he has all the documents with him, the bill of lading, the shipping document, the invoices, and let's say the money, the payment will be received after 4 months, but he is in immediate need of funds. So he may approach his bank with all those bill of lading, shipping documents, invoice, and he may ask the bank that, bank, these are the papers for which I'll get the payment after 4 months. So you discount them. That is, after deducting certain amount, after deducting the interest also, you give me some funds right now. So let's say अगर 1 CR के funds थे बैंक में, after deducting the interest कि 4 महीने बाद पेमेंट आएगा ना, और जो भी charges मतलब discount है ना, वो deduct करने के बाद बैंक gives the Indian exporter कितना, 80 lakhs, and बाकी it has been charged as the interest fees and the interest and the charges or the discount. ठीक है? Now it says that students just try to understand this example कि देखो, अगर आप जो Indian exporter है, he approached the bank on 10th March कि after 4 months I'll be receiving, you will get the payment. अभी के लिए आप मेरे को इसको discount करके and interest charge करके जो 20 lakhs का बैंक ने charge किया, you just give me 80 lakhs instead of what, 1 crore, है ना? Now this interest, this is discount is for 4 months, है ना, and 20 days का तो it will be pertaining to this year, but after 31st March ये वाला तो interest or the discount is received in advance ना, तो it simply says that in such a situation where any amount is received for the next period, it need to be proportioned appropriately, है ना, basic accounting है ना. So here ये वाला जो amount है, जो ये after 31st वाला March 31st March वाला जो भी amount आपने अभी receive किया है, since it is received in advance, it will be shown as other liabilities, है ना, it will be shown as received. Anything received in advance is a liability as such, na? So it will be shown as other liabilities. Same way it says that with respect to bills for collection, जहाँ पर the bills are collected by bank on behalf of the parties, so in that case the commission that is charged by the bank, it shall become due only when the bills are actually collected, तभी आप उसको account for करोगे when the bills are actually collected. बहुत simple है ना? And students, after this you will see बहुत सारी चीजें हैं, renegotiations हैं, आपका you will see reversal of income है. So ये basically आपको सब क्या बता रहा है, that the thumb rule is what, accrual basis पे करना है. अगर वो there is uncertainty, so if income has been booked you need to reverse it, and further आपको income book नहीं करनी है because cash basis पे आपको उसको book करना है. ठीक है? Then what is takeout finance? I have given this question also as a part of your short notes in descriptive type. तो देखो takeout finance क्या होता है, बहुत simple होता है, try to understand it, है ना? Students, today ना I'll be taking short a number of topics which as such are not interrelated but different terminologies I'll be discussing, है ना? So why are these important? Because you may get a short note descriptive question with respect to, let's say, takeout finance, है ना? So if you have understood what is the concept, I'm sure you will be able to write in your exam. So what is takeout finance? So takeout finance क्या है? See, where let's say a bank is there, it has given a loan to a borrower for, let's say, 5 years. And at the time of giving the loan, it was pre-decided that after 5 years, this loan will be taken over by B bank. है ना? So मतलब ये जो लोन A बैंक की बुक्स में आ रहा है, after 5 years, B bank will take over this loan. है ना? ये बी बैंक के बुक्स में चला जाएगा. ठीक है? Now specifically these loans are given to meet what long term financing requirement, and more specifically for the infrastructure development. It is mentioned somewhere, just a minute. ठीक है? Long term finance that a lender promises to provide at a particular date or when particular criteria for your project are met. So see, takeout loans are commonly used in property development. है ना? So अब now tell me what is the situation here that A बैंक ने borrower को, Mr. Ram को 5 years के लिए एक लोन दिया है, and here only it is pre-decided that after 5 years this loan will be taken over by B bank. Now tell me, if after 2 years, 5 सालों के लिए A बैंक की बुक्स में था ना, if after 2 years this loan becomes NPA, तो अब क्या होगा? Logical है, A bank will continue to consider this loan as NPA till the time either the borrower makes any repayment or till the time B bank takes over such loan. है ना? जब B bank take over करेगा तो repayment करके तो take over करेगा ना उस लोन को, है ना? तो तब तक A bank will consider it as what? NPA. So till the time unless realized from the borrower or taking over institution, है ना? या तो अगर borrower ही repayment कर देता है till that time, or if B bank it is been taken over by the institution, taking over institution, so B bank payment करके ही तो उस लोन को अपने बुक्स में लेके जाएगा ना. सिंपल है, लॉजिकल है, टेक आउट फाइनेंस. ठीक है? नाउ with respect to partial recoveries in NPA. Now students, it might be possible now that an account has been classified as what? An advance account has been classified as NPA, and later on there are recoveries, but partial hai. It is not sufficient to meet the principal repayment as well as the interest. So ab usko principal mane ya interest mane. So RBI has given the directions that it is the banks are required to adopt an accounting policy. ठीक है? बैंक्स के ऊपर छोड़ दिया that you make an accounting policy कि आपको कैसे कंसीडर करना है, and it should be uniform and consistent. है ना? Uniform and consistent होना चाहिए. Then you need to consider that with respect to all the partial recoveries. And as per AS 9, when certainty attaches to realization, and accordingly the amount reversed or deorganized or not recognized in the past should be accounted for. And generally आप उसको कैसे करते हो? It is considered towards the interest payment, है ना? So partial recoveries में जहां आपको नहीं पता है that whether interest principal repayment हो रहा है या interest हो रहा है, तो bank will make it shall adopt an accounting policy, and which should be uniform and consistent manner. And the appropriate policy to be followed is to recognize the income as per AS 9. And generally this is only done कि उसको as an interest income आप करते हो. Why? Because now there is a certainty ना, and you consider it as the interest income. ठीक है? So is it clear? Simple है. ठीक है. एंड मेमोरेंडम अकाउंट इज व्हाट, सी वी हैव सीन ना दैट एनपीएस के साथ नाउ द अकाउंट, द इनकम विल नॉट बी बुक्ड ऑन अक्रूवल बेसिस, इट विल बी रियलाइज्ड, इट विल बी बुक्ड ऑन व्हाट, कैश बेसिस होगी. ठीक है. तो टिल दैट टाइम अगर हमको इनकम अकाउंट फॉर नहीं करेगा बैंक, तो हाउ विल इट मेंटेन अ कंट्रोल दैट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू पर्टिकुलर अकाउंट कितना अमाउंट इज पेंडिंग, है ना. सो इट सेज दैट फॉर द कंट्रोल पर्पसेस मेमोरेंडम अकाउंट होते हैं ना, दैट वहां पे यू में कंसीडर द इंटरेस्ट विच इज ड्यू, है ना. अदरवाइज इन द मेन अकाउंट तो आपको अक्रूवल बेसिस पे आप करना ही नहीं है ना. सो सी, banks may continue to record such accrued interest in memorandum account in their books for control purposes. Simple है? Is it simple? ठीक है. So these were the points with respect to incomes. And students, one more point is left which I'll take up here only. See, with respect to this, तो asset classification में आपने देखा ना that NPA प्रोविजनिंग पे इम्पैक्ट होता है एंड इनकम रिकॉग्निशन पे इम्पैक्ट होता है. तो एनपीएस यू हैव सीन दैट सब स्टैंडर्ड होता है, डाउटफुल होता है, लॉस होता है, एंड अकॉर्डिंगली प्रोविजन क्रिएट होता है. नाउ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट, देन आई विल हैव अ लुक एट योर क्वेरीज एंड देन आफ्टर दैट वी विल स्टार्ट विद एक्सपेंसेस का ऑडिट. नाउ स्टैंडर्ड लोन्स क्या होते हैं, विच आर रेगुलर, जहां पर कोई भी इरेगुलरिटी नहीं है, जहां पर कोई भी क्रेडिट वीकनेस नहीं है. But these are also further classified as what, standard, regular and special mention accounts. देखो ये regular accounts हैं. These are what? These are your standard accounts. But as a matter of extreme caution, है ना, एकदम सावधान होके चलते हैं ना, इसलिए the accounts which are overdue, the advance accounts which are overdue for a period of 61 to 90 days, उसको SMA 2 कैटेगरी में लाते हैं. देखो मोर देन 90 डे होएगा तो वो एनपीए हो जाएगा ना, सब स्टैंडर्ड. तो अगर 61 टू 90 डेज है SMA 2 स्पेशल मेंशन अकाउंट्स. SMA 1 क्या आएगा, इफ इट इज बिटवीन 31 टू 60 डेज. SMA 0 क्या होता है, अकाउंट शोइंग स्ट्रेस सिग्नल, मतलब कोई ना कोई वीकनेस है, वो ओवरड्यू होना स्टार्ट हो गया है एंड जनरली अप टू 30 डेज. ठीक है. सो सी स्टूडेंट, दीज आर बेसिकली अर्ली वार्निंग सिग्नल्स ना, कि देखो यहाँ पर ना कुछ प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है. ठीक है. एंड स्टूडेंट्स, वी विल सी टुडे दैट इवन विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द स्टैंडर्ड एसेट्स ऑल्सो there is some provisioning requirement. Less than a percentage होता है, बहुत कम होता है, but still since these are early warning signals, because overdue तो होना start हो गया ना, तो see special mention account, the name is what, SMA 0, है ना, where it is showing some stress signals. SMA 1 which is overdue between 31 to 60 days, SMA 2 which is overdue between 61 to 90 days. More than 90 days में तो आपका NPA कैटेगरी में आ जाएगा. So this is basically what, early warning signals. ठीक है. Less than a percentage of provision is to be made. So अब जब हम interest expense करेंगे ना, the expenses side, then we will see how it is given in your module. ठीक है. Now I hope the income, audit of income aspects is clear to all of you. Let me just have a look at your queries, then we will proceed with the expenses side. So students, quickly send in your replies. जो भी अभी तक किया है, clear है नहीं, तो देखो what all we have done. एक बार quickly I'll recap and then I'll have a look at your query. So I started with NPAs का provisioning, है ना, whereby we saw substandard होता है, doubtful की 3 categories होते हैं, loss assets होते हैं. But there is an exception that this stage-wise classification need not be followed, जहां पर erosion in the value of security है. ठीक है. Then we saw 2 very important concepts of what, that NPA categorization should be what, borrower-wise and not facility-wise, right? And then we also saw that it should be based on record of recovery rather than net worth of the borrower or the guarantor. ठीक है. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक्स हैं, MCQ, ट्रू फॉल्स कुछ भी आ सकता है. ठीक है. Then we started discussing what income, whereby we saw that income, interest income हो सकता है and other income हो सकता है. And then we saw the various audit procedures, audit concerns with respect to such items, whereby we have seen that first point was chapter 9 का summarization, है ना. And then we saw that material item है, तो RBI direction ने क्या बोला है, that if it is considered on gross basis, then 1% of the total income, and if it is considered on net profit, it is considered on net or cost, then if it exceeds 1% of the net profit before taxes, then it is material. आपको accrual basis पर ही करना है. अगर मटेरियल नहीं है, इट मे बी रिकग्नाइज एज एंड व्हेन इट इज रिसीव्ड. ठीक है. रेवेन्यू सर्टेनिटी है तो आपको अक्रूवल पे करना है, एंड ये ऑटोमेटिकली हो जाता है बिकॉज ऑफ द सीपीएस, द कोर बैंकिंग सोल्यूशन. ऑटोमेटिकली इनकम क्रेडिट होती रहती है, अकाउंट बोरोअर का डेबिट होता रहता है, दैट दिस मच अमाउंट इज टू बी पेड. अगर रेवेन्यू अनसर्टेनिटी है तो एनपीएस के केस में नाउ इट विल नॉट बी रियलाइज्ड ऑन अक्रूवल बेसिस बट एज एंड व्हेन इट इज एक्चुअली रिसीव्ड, एक्चुअली रियलाइज्ड. ठीक है. एंड फर्दर जो इनकम आप ऑलरेडी अक्रूवल बेसिस पे बुक कर चुके हो तो वो क्या होएगा बताओ, वो आपको रिवर्स करना पड़ेगा. एंड ऑल दिस विल अप्लाई टू गवर्नमेंट गारंटी सिक्योरिटीज ऑल्सो. लेकिन गवर्नमेंट गारंटी में आपको प्रोविजन नहीं करना था, दैट वाज एन एक्सेप्शन. फर्दर अब एक्सेप्शन एनपीए तो आप कंसीडर एडवांसेस अगेंस्ट सिक्योरिटीज विच आर ओवरड्यू फॉर मोर देन 90 days. तो यहाँ पर ना आपको प्रोविजन बनाना है, ना आपको इनकम रिकॉग्निशन चेंज करना है, प्रोवाइडेड एडिक्वेट मार्जिन है. ठीक है. ऐसा ना हो ना कि 10 लाख का आपका लोन है, 2 लाख की एफडी है, तब तो आप करोगे ना. तो एडिक्वेट मार्जिन होना चाहिए, प्रोवाइडेड एडिक्वेट मार्जिन इज देयर. बिल्स परचेज में आई टोल्ड यू दैट प्रोपोर्शनेटली बिटवीन द ईयर्स आप उसको कंसीडर करोगे तो अदर लायबिलिटीज की तरह शो करोगे इफ एनीथिंग हैज बीन रिसीव्ड इन एडवांस. बिल फॉर कलेक्शन में क्या है, ब्रांचेस द कमीशन ऑफ द ब्रांच बिकम्स ड्यू ओनली व्हेन इट हैज बीन द बिल हैज बीन कलेक्टेड ईदर बाय द बैंक इटसेल्फ और थ्रू इट्स एजेंट. रीनेगोशिएशन में भी यही है कि अक्रूवल बेसिस पे करते हो, और अगर कुछ और है तो ऑडिटर विल चेक एवरीथिंग ऑन सैंपल बेसिस एंड ही विल सी दैट आपका अक्रूवल बेसिस पे है. एंड और अगर वो ओवरड्यू है देन इट हैज बीन रिवर्स्ड एंड इट इज नाउ नॉट बुक्ड. रिवर्सल ऑफ इनकम को ये ब्यूटीफुली एक्सप्लेन करता है, आप यहाँ से दोबारा से पढ़ सकते हो इफ यू वांट. टेक आउट फाइनेंस का आई टोल्ड यू दैट सी अगर देखो 10 years का, सो व्हाट आर द रीजंस कि टेक आउट फाइनेंस क्यों होगा. तो हुज वेयर इज दिस चक्र पानी. See, try to understand that if there is a loan for let's say 15 years and the bank doesn't want to take a risk कि 15 years तक देखना है, तो there can be an arrangement between two banks that ठीक है first 5 years के I'll give the loan, then you take over that loan from me for the next 10 years. ठीक है. So see, to boost the availability of longer tenure debt finance for projects, है ना. So this is an arrangement between the two banks. ठीक है. Clear? Is it clear? चक्रपाणी. ठीक है. Then partial recovery में it says that banks are required to adopt an accounting policy, उसको uniformly consistently follow करो, and if the income is to be recognized AS 9 के according तो आपको reversal भी the income that has been reversed, है ना, आपने तो reverse कर दिया होगा तो it will be considered now. ठीक है. एंड इट विल बी कंसीडर टुवर्ड्स इंटरेस्ट. मेमोरेंडम में आप कंट्रोल पर्पसेस के लिए कंसीडर करो. सो विद दिस वी हैव कवर्ड व्हाट we have covered our income side. Now let us just have a look. SBI का हमने ये देखा ना, interest income and other income. So let us quickly have a look at schedule 13 and 14. है ना. Schedule 13 देखो, interest income. So this is the clause I'm not able to write here, so you can just have a look. Interest discount on advances bills, income on investments, income on balances with RBI and others. And other income में ये सारा income आ जाता है, miscellaneous, dividends, exchange, profit and loss on exchange transaction, profit and loss on sale of building. And students देखो यहाँ पर आपने joint audit किया था ना मेरे साथ, है ना, chapter number 10 में. तो see कितने सारे ऑडिटर्स हैं ना. सो फॉर सो एंड सो चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट दिस इज द पार्टनर फॉर सो एंड सो. तो देखो ऑल द जॉइंट ऑडिटर्स हैव साइंड. ठीक है. ठीक है. इज इट क्लियर? तो क्विकली सेंड इन योर रिप्लाईज एंड नाउ मीनवाइल आई विल हैव अ लुक एट योर क्वेरीज. एक्सपेंडिचर को देखो. एक्सपेंडिचर में क्या है, इंटरेस्ट एक्सपेंडेड, operating expenses, provision and contingency, and the schedule are 15 and 16. So quickly have a look at schedule number 15 and 16. So this is interest expended, and have a look at operating expenses. And just now remember chapter number 9. है ना? So if you get that with respect to the audit of printing and stationery expenses of a bank, what all audit procedures will be done? So you all can write, है ना? ठीक है? So there is a doubt of ठाकुर स्मिता with respect to renegotiations. देखो क्या है कहाँ पर. So I'm taking doubt of a student. See, with respect to renegotiations, देखो जहां पर आपने कोई फाइनेंस, आपने कोई एडवांस दिया था and the terms have been renegotiated, है ना? फॉर एग्जाम्पल इंटरेस्ट में कुछ रीनेगोशिएशन है, इंटरेस्ट रेट में या repayment schedule में there is a renegotiation. So obviously bank will not be doing it free of cost. Some fee or commission will be charged. So the fee commission earned by bank as a result of renegotiations or rescheduling of outstanding debts, then that fees is also should be recognized on accrual basis over the period of time covered by the renegotiated or rescheduled extension of credit, है ना? उसको भी accrual basis पे करना है. So I told you what is the thumb rule, accrual basis पे आपको करना है. Uncertainty है तो cash basis आ जाता है. And what will auditor do? He will check on the basis of sample selected, है ना? He will test check on the basis of sample selected, test check the fees and commission earned by the banks made for commission on bills of exchange, letter of credit and bank guaranteed की जितनी भी commission है सबको check कर लो. ठीक है? Whose doubt was it? Smita, is it clear? So is it clear? हाँ तो हीरल, there is a doubt of हीरल with respect to partial negotiation. So where is it? हाँ, तो जस्ट अ मिनट, पार्शियल नेगोशिएशंस पे है ना? तो देखो पार्शियल रिकवरीज है ना स्टूडेंट्स, आई एम ऑन पार्शियल रिकवरीज, देयर इज अ डाउट ऑफ हीरल. सो स्टूडेंट्स लास्ट पैराग्राफ इज सेइंग कि ये जो भी आपका रीपेमेंट आ रहा है ना, रीपेमेंट जो भी इंटरेस्ट का आना स्टार्ट हो गया पार्शियल रिकवरी, सो ऑडिटर शुड मेक श्योर कि ये कोई आपका एडिशनल क्रेडिट फैसिलिटीज में से नहीं है, दैट इज अकाउंट रेगुलराइज्ड नियर द बैलेंस शीट डेट तो नहीं हो रहा है. तो देखो हाउएवर इट शुड बी एंश्योर्ड दैट द क्रेडिट्स टुवर्ड्स इंटरेस्ट इन द रेलेवेंट अकाउंट्स आर नॉट आउट ऑफ फ्रेश एडिशनल क्रेडिट फैसिलिटीज सैंक्शन टू द बोरोअर्स कंसर्न. So auditor needs to apply professional skepticism, professional judgment all the time throughout the audit, na? So that is why this point is there here. I hope it is clear. No, Nilabjo, with respect to only central government guarantees, state government guaranteed advances में तो same चलेगा जैसा आपका term loan में होता है. स्टेट गवर्नमेंट गारंटीड एडवांसेस में तो अगर वो ओवरड्यू फॉर मोर देन 90 डेज है, इट विल बी कंसीडर्ड एज एनपीए. उसका प्रोविजन भी कंसीडर करोगे एंड इनकम रिकॉग्निशन भी अक्रूवल बेसिस पे नहीं करोगे. तो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट गारंटीज में नॉर्मल जो आपका रूटीन जनरल टर्म लोन्स है वो तो सेम है. एक्सेप्शन इज ओनली देयर विद रिस्पेक्ट टू सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट गारंटीड एडवांसेस, और वो भी किस केस में कि प्रोविजन नहीं बनाना है. इनकम रिकॉग्निशन तो उसका भी आपको कैश बेसिस पे करना पड़ेगा. ठीक है? इज इट क्लियर नीलाब्जो? ठीक है, इज इट क्लियर स्टूडेंट्स? So students are asking me to repeat this point also. So Smita, I'll repeat it once again, and this is the last time I'm repeating this question. तो देखो हमने क्या पढ़ा था अभी तक, that stages of asset classification are there, है ना? कि substandard होगा, फिर doubtful होगा, फिर loss होगा. ठीक है? पर जहां पर आपको पता है कि सिक्योरिटी की वैल्यू में सब्सटैंशियल फॉल आ चुका है, तो वहां स्टेजेस थोड़ी ना फॉलो करना है. ठीक है? सो इफ देयर इज द वैल्यू ऑफ सिक्योरिटी इज लेस देन 50% ऑफ द वैल्यू असेस्ड बाय द बैंक और एक्सेप्टेड बाय आरबीआई इन द लास्ट इंस्पेक्शन से जो वैल्यू थी उससे 50% रिड्यूस हो गई है ना? तो अब बताओ आप क्या उसको वेट करते रहोगे कि पहले सब स्टैंडर्ड होएगा? नहीं, कंसीडर इट एज अ डाउटफुल कैटेगरी. सेम वे अगर सिक्योरिटी की वैल्यू लेस देन 10% ऑफ द आउटस्टैंडिंग बैलेंस हो गया तो वेट थोड़ी ना करोगे कि पहले सब स्टैंडर्ड बनाएंगे फिर डाउटफुल. नहीं, दिख रहा है ना लेस देन 10% है, प्रूडेंट होना, वाइस होना, तो उसको लॉस एसेट की तरह कंसीडर करो. इज इट क्लियर स्मिता? See, Pooja with respect to the point, so Pooja is saying, ma'am, why is it wrong to regularize? See, Mr. Ram, he has taken taken a term loan, है ना, of let's say 1 CR, है ना, जिसका let's say 10 lakhs का repayment is due, 8 lakhs plus 2 lakh, ये principal है, ये interest है, ठीक है, let's say, ठीक है. Now near the balance sheet date he takes another term loan और उससे यहाँ का रीपेमेंट कर दिया, तो ये तो एनपीए हो ही रहा है ना, ये भी तो एनपीए हो जाएगा लेटर ऑन. तो इट इज वेरी मच रॉन्ग ना, बिकॉज राम ने ये कैसे किया, ही हैड एन अरेंजमेंट विद द मैनेजर ऑफ द बैंक दैट ठीक है, मैनेजर को लग रहा है कि एनपीए ना हो जाए बिकॉज ही विल बी हेल्ड रिस्पॉन्सिबल ना, सो ही आस्क्ड मिस्टर राम टू रेगुलराइज इट नियर द बैलेंस शीट डेट. सो अगर राम के पास खुद के फंड्स होते फिर वो उसको पे करता, देन इट इज फाइन, ठीक है. सो ऑडिटर नीड्स टू बी अलर्ट, है ना, वहां पर क्या लिखा है, ऑडिटर नीड्स टू बी अलर्ट, बिकॉज ऐसे केसेस में where the advances are regularized near the balance sheet date, possibility is there कि there is an arrangement with any of the bank officials and which might be later on वो भी अब एनपीए हो जाए, ठीक है. So is it clear, Smita? So Karthik, first category. Then if it remains doubtful for 1 to 3 years, फिर उसको second category में, ठीक है. Is it clear? ठीक है. Now we will start with what your expenditure side items. ठीक है. So now expenses can be interest expense, operating expense, provision and contingency. Interest में क्या आएगा आपका, interest on deposits, है ना, the deposits that you have taken from the public, on them the interest is to be given. Interest on RBI and interbank borrowings. If any of the borrowings bank has made from RBI or any other bank, then interest on that and other interest also. With respect to operating expenses, payment to or provisions for employees, rent, taxes, printing, stationery, publicity, depreciation, director fees, auditor fees, legal fees, postage, repairs, insurance, other expenses, marketing, simple. Okay. And then with respect to provision and contingencies, so provisions with respect to non-performing assets, then provision with respect to taxation, provisions for diminution in the value of investments, and provision for contingency. So students, in your some last year examination, there was a question with respect to provisioning and contingency. So wahan par if you mention only about NPA, yes, NPA provisions with respect to NPA is an important aspect, but these points also need to be mentioned, that provision for taxation bhi hoga, provision for diminution in the value of investments bhi hoga, and provision for contingencies bhi hoga. सिंपल है. अब यहाँ पर भी दिस एंटायरली इट इज whatever you have done so far. एंड यहाँ पर आप देखोगे ऐसे 520 कि एनालिटिकल प्रोसीजर्स का बहुत यूज होगा कि आप कंपेयर करो दैट टोटल डिपॉजिट्स कितना है, इंटरेस्ट कितना है, यू कंपेयर द एनुअल एंड द क्वार्टरली स्टेटमेंट्स, यू कंपेयर इट विद द प्रीवियस ईयर. इन केस ऑफ एनी वेरिएंसेस आर देयर, द सेम नीड्स टू बी एनालाइज्ड, है ना, एंड ओवरऑल रीजनेबलनेस देखना है, एनालाइज करना है, रेशियोज, ऑल दैट थिंग इज मेंशन्ड हियर, ठीक है. एंड स्टूडेंट्स, here I would like to tell you one point with respect to interest on deposits, ठीक है. So देखो, अगर recurring deposits हैं, है ना, recurring deposits हर महीने कुछ ना कुछ डिपॉजिट होता है, तो इसके ऊपर इंटरेस्ट मिलता है. If there is FDs, फिक्स डिपॉजिट्स हैं, तो उसके ऊपर भी इंटरेस्ट मिलता है. सेविंग अकाउंट्स जो होते हैं उसके ऊपर भी इंटरेस्ट मिलता है. क्विकली टेल मी, करंट अकाउंट के ऊपर इंटरेस्ट मिलता है? Yes or no? Just send in your replies. Quickly send in your replies. Current account पे. See, current account is what? It is maintained by businesses to run their operations, है ना, तो regular debit credits होते हैं. So quickly tell me, इस पे इंटरेस्ट होता है? तो कार्तिक, बैनरेड्डी, हिमांशु, ठाकुर, स्मिता, सिद्धार्थ, नीलाब्जो, हितेश, चारू। सो हाँ, तो इसके ऊपर कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं होता है, ठीक है। तो डोंट गेट कंफ्यूज इफ यू गेट एनी ऑफ सच क्वेश्चंस, ठीक है। नाउ ऑडिट अप्रोच आई टोल्ड यू, ये यहाँ पर देखो क्या कह रहा है, ओवरऑल रीजनेबलनेस देखना है, एनालाइज करना है आपको रेशियोज, है ना, आपको एवरेज देखना है। एंड इन मॉडर्न डेज सीबीएस के अकॉर्डिंग ऑटोमेटिकली अपडेट होता रहता है इंटरेस्ट एक्सपेंस। क्वार्टर का देखना है आपको, एवरेज इंटरेस्ट देखना है और उसको कंपेयर करना है एनुअल अकाउंट से, ठीक है। कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फिगर्स ऑफ प्रीवियस ईयर से चेक करना है आपको, जनरल लेजर से चेक करना है, एंड एनालिसिस करना है। इन केस ऑफ एनी वेरिएंसेस आपको कंसीडर करना है, मैनेजमेंट से डिस्कस करना है, ये सब लिखा हुआ है, ठीक है। दिस तो आई होप यू ऑल आर मास्टर्स नाउ, है ना, यू ऑल कैन राइट दिस, ठीक है। नाउ द ऑडिटर विद रिस्पेक्ट टू वेरीफाइंग द कैलकुलेशन ऑफ इंटरेस्ट, सो व्हाट all can auditor do? See, he will see whether interest is provided for on all deposits, ठीक है। Interest rates should be in accordance with bank's internal regulations and the RBI guidelines and directives. Interest on saving accounts भी RBI के rules के according होना चाहिए, and interest on interbank branch balance भी RBI या head office के according होना चाहिए। Simple है ना, ठीक है, simple है, ठीक है। फर्दर एंटायर बोरोइंग पोर्टफोलियो, मतलब जितना भी डिपॉजिट्स हैं, बैंक से लिया है, अदर आरबीआई से लिया है या कहाँ से भी लिया हुआ है, सो एंटायर पोर्टफोलियो को आपको फिर उसको इंटरेस्ट से कंपेयर करोगे, आप रिकंसाइल करोगे। इन केस ऑफ एनी सिग्निफिकेंट वेरिएंस है, यू विल आस्क द मैनेजमेंट टू गिव यू रिप्लाईज, ठीक है। ऑडिटिंग ऑफ ऑपरेटिंग एक्सपेंस क्या होगा, आप इंटरनल कंट्रोल चेक करोगे, अकॉर्डिंगली आप करना, एनडी ऑफ ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स कंसीडर करोगे, है ना। रीजनेबलनेस ऑफ एक्सपेंसेस देखोगे, कंपेयर देम करोगे विद द कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग फिगर्स ऑफ प्रीवियस ईयर्स। ऑल्सो आप सपोर्टिंग डॉक्यूमेंट्स एंड कैलकुलेशंस देखोगे। मुझे बताओ इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम है? क्विकली सेंड इन योर रिप्लाईज। क्या प्रॉब्लम है इसमें? सिंपल है ना अभी तक जो भी आपने किया है ना। नाउ देयर वाज अ क्वेश्चन विद रिस्पेक्ट टू दिस, व्हाट आर द ऑडिट प्रोसीजर्स फॉर प्रोविजंस एंड कंटिजेंसीज, है ना, इन योर लास्ट ईयर एग्जामिनेशन। तो इफ यू हैव गॉन थ्रू दिस चैप्टर ना, आई एम श्योर यू विल बी एबल टू राइट, but if you have left this chapter you will get scared that see a question has come and I am not aware, है ना। So देखो क्या है, the auditor should ensure that the compliances of various regulatory requirements for provisioning as contained in circulars have been fulfilled, ठीक है। सो कंप्यूट करना है प्रोविजन ऑन स्टैंडर्ड एसेट्स। देखो आई टोल्ड यू ना दैट स्टैंडर्ड एसेट्स पे भी प्रोविजन होएगा विच इज लेस देन अ परसेंटेज, एंड इट इज जस्ट एज अ मेजर ऑफ एक्सट्रीम प्रूडेंस कि कल को ये भी कोई इनमें भी वीकनेस ना आ जाए, दैट इज वाई लेस देन अ परसेंटेज इज क्रिएटेड। एंड नॉन परफॉर्मिंग, एंड ऑडिटर विल सी कि ये जो कैटेगरी है स्टैंडर्ड, सब स्टैंडर्ड, डाउटफुल, लॉस, ये सब ठीक है नहीं, लोन क्लासिफिकेशन को देखना है, देन ब्रेकअप देखना है, आउटस्टैंडिंग बैलेंसेस देखना है। सी हियर विद रिस्पेक्ट टू कंप्यूटेशन ऑफ इनकम टैक्स, तो इसमें व्हाटएवर डेबिट क्रेडिट टू द पीएनएल हैज बीन डन, सो बेसिकली द प्रॉफिट दैट इज बीन डिराइव्ड फॉर इनकम टैक्स कंप्यूटेशन वेदर इट इज करेक्ट और नॉट, है ना। एंड explanation from bank management लेंगे, why, because with respect to provision for contingencies, है ना, and other provisions management judgment लगा होगा ना, तो explanation from bank management लेंगे। simple है ना simple। So this shows that how the interest income and other income and expenses will appear, ठीक है। So with this we have covered what the income and the expenses side of the P&L account of a bank. So let me just quickly take you through the account। See, operating में यही है of SBI bank, and then with respect to interest expended this is given, ठीक है। Further, just a minute, the PNL of SBI of any bank will appear like this, which is given in your module also, ठीक है। Now students, from page number 21 and going forward we have completed this chapter, but before, like from page number 1 to 20 there are a number of concepts which I need to discuss with you, because these concepts are related to like with respect to what are the various kinds of banks. Then there are topics with respect to the different types of reports that the auditor is to be has to issue with respect to audit of bank, है ना। Then LFAR we will see. With respect to fraud and money laundering, we will see a concept. With respect to Basel III norms, we will see a concept. So I'll take up all the concepts which are different and for which an explanation is definitely needed. Okay? So we will do one thing before starting with the next topic. Let me just take a break of 10 minutes here, a quick break of 10 minutes, and then we'll start from the first half of this chapter, which I have left. Okay? So meanwhile, please send in your queries. I'll definitely take up all your queries. Okay? So Hiral bank tax प्रोविजन कॉम्पिटिशन चेकिंग का क्या मतलब है? जो भी प्रोविजन फॉर टैक्स बैंक ने कैलकुलेट किया है उसका कॉम्पिटिशन को चेक करना है. ठीक है हिरल, इज इट क्लियर? ठीक है. So we will take a quick break of 10 minutes here and then we are going to cover very important topics which we have left. ठीक है. And those topics you haven't done in the earlier chapters. So please be with me and send in your replies whatever you have. And in the break, students, please go through the questions that I have uploaded so that the queries I can take up, because there is paucity of time. I will not be able to take up all the questions. Okay? I have uploaded the answer sheets also. So you may just quickly go through the 3 sheets and then in the break you can send me the queries. Okay? So a quick break of 10 minutes here. Students, I hope you all are back after the break. So there was some confusion with respect to break or not. So Pooja is asking me whether ma'am there is break or not. So now the break is over. So I hope you all are back. And I can see there is a doubt. Hiral is asking about divergent trends. See, divergent is varying trends of operating expenses. Now, so Hiral, it basically says that if there are differences in the operating expense, the trend is divergent, different. है. Last year कुछ और था, इस साल कुछ और है. For example, last 2 years में there was an increase of 10% in both the years. Now there has been a sudden increase of, let's say, 20%. Divergent. Hiral, is it clear? And with respect to objectives of takeout finance, Khushi, you can always go through. है ना, simple से objectives हैं, 3 objectives हैं, you can always have a look. ठीक है? So now let us start with the first half of this chapter. So students, I'll definitely try. Many of you are asking me to revise this chapter at the end of the session. So my endeavor will be to revise the chapter, but let's see how much time is left. Okay? Because I don't want to leave any topic which needs a discussion in this chapter. Okay? So audit of banks was the chapter that we started, Hana. Now, students, see, why are we studying this chapter separately? Because see, there are various features of a bank which make it altogether different from the traditional profit and loss making companies, है ना? तो जो भी अभी तक audit आपने पढ़ा है, that will apply. But since a number of peculiarities, what is meant by peculiarities? Different characteristics are involved, like huge volume and complexity of transactions are there, wide geographical spread of bank networks is there, large range of products and services are offered, extensive use of technology होता है, strict vigilance by the banking regulator, है ना, RBI. So that is why we are reading it separately. है ना, तो इसलिए आरबीआई ने प्रूडेंशियल नॉर्म्स दिए हैं ऑन दिस इनकम रिकॉग्निशन एंड एसेट क्लासिफिकेशन आईरैक नॉर्म्स, है ना, एंड विद रिस्पेक्ट टू प्रोविजनिंग. तो सिंस देयर आर सेपरेट स्ट्रिक्ट विजिलेंस बाय आरबीआई, तो व्हेन वी आर कंडक्टिंग द ऑडिट ऑफ बैंक, वी नीड टू कंसीडर द एसेट क्लासिफिकेशन विद रिस्पेक्ट टू एनपीएस, है ना, वी नीड टू कंसीडर द इनकम रिकॉग्निशन एस्पेक्ट. एंड स्टूडेंट्स, सी, वाइड ज्योग्राफिकल स्प्रेड ऑफ बैंक नेटवर्क्स इज देयर, है ना. एक ही बैंक के कितने सारे ब्रांचेस हैं ऑल अक्रॉस द कंट्री एज वेल एज आउटसाइड इंडिया, एंड देयर इज अ स्टैट्यूटरी सेंट्रल ऑडिटर, है ना, हु इज साइनिंग ऑन द बैलेंस शीट ऑफ एंड पीएनएल ऑफ द एंटायर बैंक, है ना. तो वो सब कैसे होएगा? सो लेट अस जस्ट क्विकली ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड. सो सी, देयर इज अ कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ व्हाट स्टैट्यूटरी सेंट्रल ऑडिटर, who gives the audit report, independent auditor's report of the bank, and who signs the financial statements, the P&L balance sheet of the bank. ठीक है? Then there is what statutory branch auditors, है ना. So with respect to all the banks, branch audit is also been conducted by statutory branch auditors, who in turn give their report to statutory central auditors, है ना. And statutory central auditors, if you have seen, I have shared with you that report of SBI. So they were what all joint auditors, है ना, वो भी joint auditors थे, but all of them were what statutory central auditors. And जो statutory bank auditors होते हैं, they provide their report to statutory central auditors, and now it is up to the statutory central auditors as to how to deal with the report of statutory bank auditors in their report, है ना. Now I'll show you a paragraph in SBI वाला report. Just a minute. So, है ना, अब ये देखो, यहाँ पर this is an independent auditor report. ठीक है. सो यहाँ पर द ऑडिटर्स, सो हु आर गिविंग दिस रिपोर्ट? द स्टैट्यूटरी सेंट्रल ऑडिटर्स, एंड वो जॉइंट ऑडिटर्स हैं, बहुत सारे ऑडिटर्स हैं, इसमें तो कोई कंफ्यूजन नहीं है ना. तो देखो, दे हैव मेंशन्ड दैट वी हैव ऑडिटेड द कंपनी फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट ऑफ द बैंक, एंड देखो यहाँ पर क्या लिखा है, दैट दिस इज द एड्रेस. फर्दर इट सेज, एंड 20 branches audited by us, that out of the total branches 20 हमने ऑडिट किए हैं. Further, 8,557 Indian branches are audited by respective statutory branch auditors. So I'm reading it here. And 34 foreign branches are audited by respective local auditors. Hana, you all have done with me the concept of joint auditor. Hana, joint auditor to kya hai? All the auditors are jointly the statutory central auditors जिन्होंने sign किया report. But अब ये जो branch audit वाला concept आ रहा है, यहाँ तो ऐसे 600 आएगा ना, that the branches have been audited by branch auditors. ठीक है, यहाँ पर दिख रहा है ना आपको. And see in the other matter paragraph ना, the auditor must have mentioned see one more point with respect to this only. See, यहाँ पर अब क्या लिखा हुआ है? The branches audited by us and those audited by other auditors have been selected by bank, right? Also incorporated in the balance sheet are the returns from 15,977 Indian branches which have not been subjected to audit. तो सब कुछ mention करना होगा. कितना branch को audit हमने किया है, that is statutory central auditors ने किया है. कितना branch को audit statutory bank auditors ने किया है if the branches are in India, या respective local auditors ने किया है if in case of foreign branches. Now there might be some branches which are not audited by the statutory bank auditors. So bank ने ही select किया है, and these are the branches which have not been audited. And see, the statutory central auditors, they have quantified कि जो unaudited branches है ना, उनका advances, total advances का इतना percentage है. These unaudited branches account for 17.62 of advances, 33.76 of deposits, 28.94 of interest and 40.21% of interest income. तो सब कुछ mention करना होगा. Yes, CAG has a role. We will discuss, Pooja. ठीक है? So, can you see? तो statutory central auditors देखो यहाँ पर कौन है? Let us again have a look. है ना? ये सब कौन है? Joint auditors हैं, जो कि statutory central auditors हैं. तो यहाँ पर जब वो joint audit कर रहे हैं SC 299, ठीक है? पर यहाँ पर जब वो mention कर रहे हैं कि ये वाले audit किसने किया है? Branch auditors ने किया है. तो यहाँ पर कौन सा SC आ जाएगा? SC 600. Clear? ठीक है. फर्दर सी इन दी अदर मैटर पैराग्राफ ऑल्सो. अभी हमने ये सब पढ़ा है आपने मेरे साथ ना, चैप्टर नंबर 10 में भी 11 में भी. देखो अदर मैटर पैराग्राफ में भी लिखा हुआ है ना, दैट वी डिड नॉट ऑडिट द फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट ऑफ 8591 ब्रांचेस इंक्लूडेड इन स्टैंड अलोन. द फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट इंफॉर्मेशन ऑफ दीज ब्रांचेस हैव बीन ऑडिटेड बाय द ब्रांच ऑडिटर्स हुज रिपोर्ट हैव बीन फर्निश्ड टू अस, एंड आवर ओपिनियन इन सो फार एज इट रिलेट्स टू द अमाउंट्स एंड डिस्क्लोजर्स इंक्लूडेड इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ दीज ब्रांचेस इज based solely on the report of such branch auditors. Our opinion is not modified. हम other matter paragraph में mention करते हैं ना कि हमारी opinion कोई modified नहीं है with respect to this. See, अगर किसी branch statutory branch auditor के report में अगर कुछ adverse होता, then that auditor must have mentioned it here. But यहाँ पर he is saying that we have relied on that report. So it is up to the statutory central auditor to see as to how to deal with the report of the statutory branch auditor in the independent auditor's report. समझ आता है ना? तो अब why I have shown you this report now? Because देखो एक तो इससे क्या clear होता है that the reporting format that you have done in chapter number 11, देखो same आ रहा है ना, independent auditor report, opinion paragraph, basis of opinion, key audit matter, then the description about what is key audit matter. देखो यहाँ पर है ना, these are those matters which are of judgment and all that thing, and we do not see यहाँ पर कहीं आएगा. So how this matter is addressed, and so our audit approach was that everything is mentioned. Responsibility with respect to management, those charged with governance, auditor's responsibility है ना. देखो as it is है, other matters आ गया, report on other legal and regulatory requirements है ना. And if you see that we have obtained all information, the transactions are within the power. So देखो ये वाला point, B point is a change है ना. B point is a change. This is mentioned in your module also, but just have a look so that in the module you will find it easy. We further report that books of accounts are appropriately maintained, cash flow, P&L, and everything of the branches not visited by us, we have dealt with in our report. Then the reports of the branch offices, everything, Hana, it is mentioned here. Okay? Then, in our opinion, they comply with the accounting standards, no observation, Hana. If you remember section 143, subsection 3, है ना, ये सब वही तो है that the board of directors are not disqualified, there are no qualification, reservation, adverse remark, and see there is an audit report with respect to adequacy and operating effectiveness of banks internal financial control over financial reporting, है ना. अब देखो जिसने चैप्टर नंबर 10-11 अच्छे से पढ़ा है ना उसके लिए तो ये सब कुछ रिवीजन हो गया होगा, ठीक है, पर जिसने नहीं पढ़ा उसको कंफ्यूजन हो गया होगा. स्टूडेंट्स अभी भी टाइम है, अगर किसी ने नहीं पढ़ा, वैसे तो आई एम श्योर दैट यू ऑल मस्ट हैव started learning chapter number 10 and 11 that we have done, है ना. So even if you have not done, तो it's better to start now, ठीक है. ठीक है, तो देखो अब यहाँ पर there is a report with respect to the report on the internal financial control over financial reporting as required by RBI. So if I ask you that what all reports the auditor is required to give, so one of the reports is what the main audit report जो हमने ऊपर पढ़ा अभी. Another report is what report on the internal financial control over financial reporting as required by RBI. तो यहाँ पर भी देखो सेम है, मैनेजमेंट के क्या रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी था, ऑडिटर का क्या है, ओपिनियन क्या है, अदर मैटर्स क्या है, ठीक है. सो ऑल दैट थिंग इज कमिंग नाउ. देयर इज वन मोर रिपोर्ट विच इज व्हाट LFAR, long form audit report. So I'll do one thing, I'll show you all kind of report and everything and then I'll take you through the module. So long form audit report कैसे होता है? So the statutory branch auditors, they will be sending the LFAR with respect to their branches to the statutory central auditor, and statutory central auditor भी एक for the entire bank as a whole एक report देगा, ठीक है. So देखो यहाँ पर it is mentioned. So just a minute. Long form audit report to the management and statutory central auditors of the bank by the branch auditors in case of branch bank branches. So देखो how is it given? So basically देखो LFAR, popularly known as LAFAR, है ना, long form audit report. So name of the bank, the branch code, the zone and the financial year. And so basically the branch auditor, he is required to write yes or no or whatever as his comments in front of, let's say with respect to cash. So the questions are like, does the system ensure cash is maintained effectively in the joint custody of two or more? So yes or no. ठीक है. Then has the cash balances at the branch ATMs been checked on periodic balance? So yes or no के form में, like basically either the yes or the no will come. Does the branch generally maintain carry cash balances? So this is with respect to cash, ठीक है. Then comes the point, money at call and short notice. You all must be aware about these terms. Investments for branches outside India, है ना. Advances. So see, general instructions they are given. The answers to the following questions may be based on auditor's examination of all large advances, है ना. So list of accounts examined कि आप अगर आपने sample basis पे किया है तो what are the list, है ना. तो you need to mention here. Funded है, non-funded है. See, आप जब when you will be conducting the audit now, like as a part of the team, you will, when you have a look at these forms, you will see these are exactly the same, and whatever you have understood, whatever basic knowledge you have gained in this chapter about audit of banks, you will see that exactly the same you will going to see in the practical life. ठीक है. So credit appraisal हुआ है या नहीं, है ना, and what all procedures have been complied. So basically whether borrower accounts the applicable interest rate is correctly fed into the system. CBS में automatically calculate हो जाता है ना, तो वो ठीक से हो रहा है या नहीं. Whether interest rate is reviewed periodically, है ना. Whether the sanctioning and disbursements कैसे होते हैं. Credit facilities जो beyond the delegated limit है, ऐसा तो कोई नहीं है. What are the cases, whether the cases are promptly reported to higher authorities, है ना. तो a kind of check on the internal control, है ना. तो yes or no. So this is what LAFAR, long form audit report, which is to be given by this statutory branch auditors as well as the statutory central auditors. ठीक है, and we have seen कि यहाँ पर एक तो मेन ऑडिट रिपोर्ट था जो सेक्शन जो अभी तक आपने चैप्टर नंबर 11 में भी पढ़ा, सेक्शन 143 के भी whatever provisions are applicable. देखो यहाँ पर थोड़ा सा ये चेंज हो गया ना that the transactions which have come to the notice whether these are within the power. So this is as per the Banking Regulation Act ना, है तो वही वाला जो आपका सेक्शन 143 में था but with a little modification. ठीक है, so now we will do one thing, we will now come to our module. So types of audit reports to be issued generally. So presently the statutory central auditors have to furnish the following in addition to the main report. तो main report आपने देखा ना जो आपका कंपनीज एक्ट के अकॉर्डिंग है, फर्दर जो बैंकिंग रेगुलेशन एक्ट के अकॉर्डिंग भी सर्टेन मॉडिफिकेशंस आर देयर, तो दीज आर आल्सो इंक्लूडेड. तो दिस इज द फर्स्ट रिपोर्ट. तो आई हैव गिवन यू अ क्वेश्चन ऑफ 4 मार्क दैट इन एडिशन टू मेन ऑडिट रिपोर्ट और कौन से रिपोर्ट्स देने हैं बाय द bank auditor. So report on adequacy and operating effectiveness of internal control over financial reporting in case of banks, जो कि section 143 subsection 3 clause I में आपने पढ़ा है. LFAR अब आपने देख लिया है, ठीक है. Then report on compliance with the SLR requirements. Quickly tell me SLR requirements क्या होते हैं? Quickly send in your replies. SLR requirements. So a report on compliance with SLR requirements is also. So basically SLR is the minimum percentage of the deposits that a commercial bank has to maintain in the form of liquid, cash, gold, and other securities. And these reserves the bank are expected to have with themselves before offering credit to the customers. है ना? तो statutory liquidity ratio, ठीक है, the banks are required to maintain with themselves. ठीक है? Correct. So basically the amount to be kept in liquid as liquid and with themselves. And CRR क्या होता है? जो amount is to be kept with the RBI. ठीक है? So a report on compliance with SLR, then on the report on whether the treasury operations of the bank have been conducted in accordance with instructions issued by RBI from time to time. अब treasury operation क्या होता है? So if there are surplus funds, है ना? So the way the surplus funds are invested in order to achieve the desired returns, है ना? So whether SLR securities में invest किया है, non-SLR securities में invest किया है. So the statutory central auditor, he will ask the branches to provide all that data, and then the statutory central auditor will calculate the ratio for the bank as a whole कि कितना amount कहाँ पर invest हुआ है, कितना returns are coming. ठीक है? So a report on this is also required. A report whether income recognition, asset classification, provisioning has been made as per guidelines issued by RBI, NPA के case में, ठीक है. A report on whether serious irregularities were noticed in the working of bank which requires immediate action, simple है ना. And a report on status of compliance by bank with respect to recommendations of Ghosh committee and Jilani committee. तो ये Ghosh committee and Jilani committee, just a minute. Ghosh committee and Jilani committee. So basically these are the committees which have given recommendations. So Ghosh committee has given recommendations with respect to fraud and malpractices, and Jilani committee has given recommendations with respect to internal control and inspection credit system. For example, Ghosh committee ने बोला था कि concurrent audit का concept introduce होना चाहिए, concurrent audit करवाना चाहिए. अब concurrent audit क्या होता है? This is a kind of internal audit जो regular basis पे चलता है. ठीक है? So don't get confused between statutory central auditor और statutory branch auditor. वो तो that is required by the statute, है ना? तो external auditors करते हैं. ये concurrent auditor is what? Audit is what? A kind of internal audit जो regular basis पे होता है. So this was recommended by Ghosh committee. So यहाँ पर भी एक checklist के form में होता है yes or no की तरह कि whether ये हुआ है नहीं, ये हुआ है नहीं, and the auditor has to reply. So report on status of compliance by the bank with regard to implementation of recommendations. मतलब whether the recommendations given by Ghosh committee with respect to frauds and malpractices and the recommendations given by Jilani committee with respect to internal control and inspection credit system, whether द बैंक हैज कंप्लाइड विद और नॉट, ये कौन बताएगा? स्टैट्यूटरी सेंट्रल ऑडिटर बताएगा कि वो कमिटीज का जो भी रिकमेंडेशन था वो इम्प्लीमेंट हुआ है नहीं। तो देखो सिंपल है ना। अब नाउ फॉर ऑल दोस्त जिसने ये डिस्कशन को सुना है वंस और ट्वाइस एंड हैव गॉन थ्रू द मॉड्यूल, बहुत सिंपल होने वाला है लिखने में। इफ यू गेट अ 4 मार्क क्वेश्चन, सो इन एडिशन टू मेन रिपोर्ट यू नो दैट इंटरनल कंट्रोल ओवर फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्टिंग है, लफार है। लफार का डिस्कशन अभी हम थोड़ा सा देखेंगे आके। एसएलआर रिक्वायरमेंट पे है, ट्रेजरी ऑपरेशन पे है, या एनपीए आपको पता है। दिस इज व्हाट, देखो आईरैक होता है, ये आईरैक नॉर्म्स होते हैं वैसे। इन ऑर्डर टू लर्न इनकम रिकग्निशन, एसेट क्लासिफिकेशन एंड प्रोविजनिंग किया नहीं, सीरियस इरेगुलरिटीज है बताया नहीं। घोष कमेटी, जिलानी कमेटी की रिकमेंडेशन। घोष कमेटी किस पे है? फ्रॉड्स एंड माल प्रैक्टिसेस के लिए। जिलानी कमेटी क्या है? ऑन इंटरनल कंट्रोल एंड इंस्पेक्शन। सिंपल है ना। सो दिस वाज एन इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक विच आई नीडेड आई वांटेड टू डिस्कस, ठीक है। सो यहाँ पर सब क्या लिखा हुआ है? दैट अ नंबर ऑफ पेक्यूलियरिटीज, मतलब डिफरेंट कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स फीचर्स हैं बैंकिंग सिस्टम में। सो बैंकिंग सिस्टम नीड्स टू बी वेरी मच सेफ एंड सिक्योर, एंड फॉर दैट क्वालिटी बैंक ऑडिट्स होना जरूरी है। नाउ व्हाट आर द टाइप्स ऑफ बैंक्स? कमर्शियल बैंक्स, this is 1 2, so this is not the heading, don't get confused. So ये आगे देखो डिस्कस किए गए हैं, quickly we will see. I've given a question on this also. So commercial banks क्या होते हैं? बहुत सिंपल है। सो दीज आर द बैंक्स जिसके क्या फंक्शंस होते हैं? एक्सेप्टिंग डिपॉजिट्स, ग्रांटिंग एडवांसेस, लाइक योर एचडीएफसी। सो इसमें आपका एचडीएफसी, ये प्राइवेट बैंक सब आ जाएंगे, गवर्नमेंट बैंक्स भी आ जाएंगे, आपका फॉरेन बैंक्स भी आ जाएंगे, ठीक है। सो द मोस्ट वाइड स्प्रेड बैंकिंग इंस्टीट्यूशंस इन इंडिया दैट प्रोवाइड अ नंबर ऑफ प्रोडक्ट्स एंड सर्विसेज टू जनरल पब्लिक एंड वेरियस सेगमेंट्स ऑफ इकोनॉमी, एक्सेप्ट करते हैं डिपॉजिट, ग्रांट करते हैं एडवांसेस। रीजनल रूरल बैंक्स, अब देखो रीजनल रूरल बैंक्स एज द नेम सजेस्ट कि पर्टिकुलर रीजन के, रूरल एरिया के रीजन को जो केटर टू द बैंकिंग नीड्स ऑफ सच एरिया, उसको क्या बोलते हैं? आरआरबी, ठीक है। सो बेसिक बैंकिंग फाइनेंशियल नीड्स देते हैं टू द रूरल कम्युनिटी। एंड सिंस रीजन है तो पर्टिकुलर रीजन का पर्टिकुलर रूरल बैंक होगा। फॉर एग्जाम्पल पंजाब ग्रामीण बैंक, त्रिपुरा ग्रामीण बैंक। एंड स्टूडेंट्स, जो आरआरबी होते हैं ना, इसमें सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का स्टेक होता है, इसमें एक स्पॉन्सरिंग बैंक होता है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल पंजाब ग्रामीण बैंक में पीएनबी इज द स्पॉन्सरिंग बैंक एंड स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का होता है। एंड स्टूडेंट्स, यू विल सी लेटर ऑन व्हेन वी विल डिस्कस विद रिस्पेक्ट टू अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ ऑडिटर्स ना, अभी ही आई एम टेलिंग यू दिस पॉइंट कि जहां पर अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ ऑडिटर्स ऑफ आरआरबी होता है ना, तो वहां पर ही स्पॉन्सरिंग बैंक भी देखता है दैट हु इज टू बी अपॉइंटेड एज द ऑडिटर, ठीक है। वो आगे मेंशन है, वी विल डू दैट, ठीक है। ठीक है। सो आरआरबीज कोऑपरेटिव क्या है? बैंक्स, दीज आर बेसिकली बेस्ड ऑन द प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ व्हाट? कोऑपरेटिव प्रिंसिपल्स एंड नीड्स ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर एंड रूरल एरियाज को मीट करते हैं। एग्जांपल गुजरात स्टेट कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटी। सो फंक्शन इसका सेम होता है एज कमर्शियल बैंक्स, बट बेसिकली बेस्ड ऑन व्हाट? कोऑपरेटिव प्रिंसिपल्स। अब पेमेंट बैंक्स, तो यू ऑल मस्ट बी अवेयर, रिसेंट ओरिजिन के हैं, नियर आई थिंक इन 2015 कहीं सेटअप हुए थे ये बाय आरबीआई, इंट्रोड्यूस्ड बाय आरबीआई। एग्जांपल पेटीएम पेमेंट्स बैंक, एयरटेल पेमेंट्स बैंक, इंडिया पोस्ट पेमेंट्स बैंक। तो बेसिकली क्या है? दीज आर द न्यू टाइप्स ऑफ बैंक विच इज बिन रिसेंटली इंट्रोड्यूस्ड बाय आरबीआई, वेयर बाय जो डिपॉजिट्स आते हैं ना इस बैंक में, सो देयर इज अ रिस्ट्रिक्शन कि पर डे कितना डिपॉजिट आ सकता है, और यहाँ पर लोन या क्रेडिट कार्ड भी इशू नहीं होते हैं। तो पर्पस क्या है? आप करंट या सेविंग अकाउंट ओपन कर सकते हो। यू कैन अवेल द फैसिलिटी ऑफ एटीएम, डेबिट कार्ड, इंटरनेट बैंकिंग, मोबाइल बैंकिंग, ठीक है। तो रिस्ट्रिक्टिव पेमेंट पर्पसेस के लिए है ना, एयरटेल पेमेंट बैंक, इंडियन पोस्ट पेमेंट बैंक, पेटीएम, है ना। और यू ऑल मस्ट बी अवेयर अबाउट पेटीएम एंड ऑल दीज पेमेंट्स ऐप, ठीक है। Now development bank, as the name suggests, for the development, economic growth, तो infrastructural facilities के लिए long term loan देते हैं ये। For example, Small Industries Development Bank of India, simple. Small finance bank. So these have been set up by RBI to make available financial banking facilities to the unserved and unorganized sector. Example, Equita Small Finance Banks and basically small marginal farmers या small micro business units के लिए होते हैं. So you may get a question that ये commercial banks, yeah, you may get a question in MCQ that which of the following is the function of a development bank, है ना? So anything like this can come. Yes, Charu, they definitely include like your Standard Chartered, foreign bank, है ना? So सो पूजा दीज कमिटीज घोष कमिटी है जैसे है ना आपका. सो दीज कमिटीज आर बेसिकली नेम्ड बाय द पर्सन हु हैज चेयर्ड दिस कमिटी. जैसे घोष कमिटी इज श्री ए घोष, ही चेयर्ड दिस कमिटी, तो इसलिए द नेम इज व्हाट घोष कमिटी है ना. सो ट्रेजरी ऑपरेशन में बेसिकली क्या है, देयर इज अ डाउट ऑफ हिमांशु. सो ट्रेजरी क्या है कि जो भी सरप्लस फंड्स है उसको कहीं इन्वेस्ट करेगा ना बैंक, सो व्हाट ऑल return is there है ना. Further that securities can be what the securities required by SLR है ना, वो वहां पर जो securities mentioned है, all non SLR securities. So whether with respect to the treasury functions of the entire bank है ना, the reporting is to be done by statutory central auditor. So it might be possible that recently there might have some changes that have been made, Karthik, Anna, but still the main facility is that with respect to the Paytm banks, that restricted deposit hotel, there is some restriction on the amount of deposits that can be made, Anna. Okay, Karthik, it might be possible that recently some changes might have been made. Because देखो अगर आप देखोगे स्मॉल फाइनेंस बैंक एज सच, इफ यू सी एयू स्मॉल फाइनेंस बैंक, नाउ इट हैज ग्रोन इनटू अ वेरी बिग बैंक है ना. ठीक है, ठीक है, इज इट क्लियर? नाउ हु इज द रेगुलेटर ऑफ ऑल दीज बैंक्स? आरबीआई. आरबीआई रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर ऑल दीज थिंग्स. दिस इज वेरी सिंपल, यू ऑल कैन डू है ना. Then there are various acts that are applicable to a bank. Banking Regulation Act है, Companies Act है, SBI के केस में State Bank of India Act, then State Bank of India Subsidiary Bank Act, then there is Banking Companies Acquisition and Transfer of Undertaking Act 1970. So as such you need not just learn these names, but you must be aware. For example, this Banking Companies Acquisition Transfer of Undertaking Act, and same way this act. So this is in 1980, this is in 1970. So under this act, around 14 banks were nationalized in 1970, and here additional 6 banks were nationalized in 1980. तो ये nationalization of banks के लिए था. RRB act किसके लिए होगा? RRB regional rural banks के लिए. Now this securitization and reconstruction of financial assets and enforcement security act 2002. So in short, this is called SARFAESI act. So if you remember students, we have done a concept of security कि security लेता है bank prime years collateral, and in case the borrower is not able to repay, the bank can exercise the lien on such security and can sell it है ना, and recover the dues from the borrower. So under what act such power are given? So these are given under this SARFAESI act. Securitization and Reconstruction of Financial Assets and Enforcement of Security Interest Act 2002. Clear है? ठीक है, clear? Then Credit Information Companies Regulation Act, Payment and Settlement System Act 2007. So this basically relates to जितना भी आपका NEFT, आपका RTGS, जितने भी ये transactions होते हैं. So all that. So these all are the regulatory framework which are applicable to bank. ठीक है, टाइप्स ऑफ ऑडिट रिपोर्ट हमने कर लिया है. नाउ अंडरस्टैंडिंग द अकाउंटिंग सिस्टम, एक बार प्लीज गो थ्रू दिस टॉपिक एट होम है ना. वैसे तो यू नीड टू गो थ्रू द एंटायर चैप्टर, बट यहाँ पर देखो क्या लिखा है कि नाउ अ डेज द बैंकिंग इज व्हाट, एनी टाइम एनीवेयर बैंकिंग इज देयर है ना. सो सीबीएस है, ऑटोमेटिकली अपडेट हो जाता है सब कुछ है ना. कुछ कंप्यूटराइज बैंक्स होते हैं, कुछ नॉन कंप्यूटराइज होते हैं, कुछ पार्शली कंप्यूटराइज होते हैं. यू कैन जस्ट हैव अ look at all these things. Now what all bank audit approach the auditor will have? अब देखो अगर ऑडिट कर रहे हो तो ऑडिट तो सेम करोगे ना, कि प्लानिंग करना है, रिस्क असेस करना है, मटेरियलिटी देखना है, एनालिटिकल प्रोसीजर्स लगाना है, इनिशियल ओपनिंग बैलेंसेस है, इनिशियल एंगेजमेंट है तो SF 510 लगाना है ना. इसमें तो कोई डाउट नहीं है ना, बिकॉज आई हैव टोल्ड यू दैट जितना भी अभी तक आपने किया, जितना भी एसेस आपने 520 तक किया, वो सब आएगा. फिर चैप्टर नंबर 9 में आपने जितना भी ऑडिट ऑफ आइटम्स ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट किया, अगर वो आइटम्स ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट सेम है बैंकिंग फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट से, तो वो भी आएगा. चैप्टर नंबर 10 में भी जो भी यू विल सी दैट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू ऑडिटर्स क्वालिफिकेशन डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन, सेक्शन 141 एज इट इज आएगा. फॉर्मेट ऑफ ऑडिट, सॉरी चैप्टर 10 का मैं बात कर रही हूँ ना, तो सेक्शन 141 आएगा. सेक्शन 143 का भी आपने देखा रिपोर्टिंग रिक्वायरमेंट्स हैं, तो ऑल दैट विल कम. चैप्टर नंबर 11 से फॉर्मेट सेम आएगा, है ना. सो ऑल दैट इज सेम. की ऑडिट मैटर आएगा, अदर मैटर पैराग्राफ आएगा, एवरीथिंग विल बी सेम. तो नाउ यू विल सी दैट द पैराग्राफ्स दैट वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस, so the topics which are peculiar, which are limited to bank audit, I will take up all those topics, but जो common है उसके लिए I'll just quickly just read the headings. तो drawing an audit plan, है ना. control environment at bank को समझना है, मतलब internal control भी आ जाएगा इसमें. so these are the questions कि कौन control perform करता है, whether that person has the requisite knowledge or not, what evidence is available to demonstrate, कब कब control perform होते हैं. simple है ना, जो भी आपने internal control chapter 4 में पढ़ा. engagement team discussions क्यों करने हैं. and students, there is this is a past examination question, that what are the advantages of the engagement in discussion with respect to bank audit. तो देखो बहुत simple है. If there are discussions within the engagement team, so you can see what are the balances in the financial statement which are susceptible to fraud, है ना. misstatement तो नहीं हो सकता है. what kind of risk are there, है ना. delegation of work हो सकता है, and you can involve specialists if these are required relating to fraud. simple है ना. हिरल आप ना बहुत ऐसे क्वेश्चंस पूछ रहे हो which require in-depth knowledge of all the CRR, SLR, which is not required for the purpose of this chapter. So if you go in detail, you will get confused because there are a number of topics which are very much new to you. तो अगर आप इस basic understanding को ही ले लोगे ना इस chapter के लिए, then that will be enough. अगर आप ये adverse CRR ratio and all that thing, ये अभी for the purpose of this chapter is not required. ठीक है हिरल. So go by what is given in your module. ऐसे तो this area is so vast, बहुत ज़्यादा wide है bank audit, and you will see that in your finals you will be doing everything in detail. तो अभी के लिए for the purpose of inter, since this is a new topic, technical है, तो जो भी module में आप उसी पे restrict करो, ठीक है. Is it fine, Hiral? So this is a past examination question. And what all discussions the engagement team ordinarily includes a discussion of the following matters: errors that may be more likely to occur, errors which have been identified in prior year, method by which fraud might be perpetrated by the bank personnel, audit responses to engagement risk, pervasive risk specific, need to maintain professional skepticism, need to be alert, है ना. ये सब आपने किया हुआ है. ये advantages का I have told you, this is a past examination question, है ना. तो simple है कि specific emphasis should be provided on susceptibility of the bank's financial statement to material misstatement, है ना. accordingly आप appropriate response देखोगे. then adequate आप delegate work कर सकते हो to the experienced team members, and further आप क्या कर सकते हो, if there is a need to involve specialist, you may do that. So that is perfectly fine, Hiral. But why I'm telling everyone, in fact, please do not go in much detail, है ना. जितना आपके मॉड्यूल में एक बारी वो तो करो. If you want an extra information, that can always be obtained, and that is always available. But the point is that there are a number of concepts which are new to you, and at this point of time, my endeavor is to complete all those topics, that any of such topics should not be left undiscussed here. Okay? So that is why I'm asking you to concentrate on what is given in the module. So Nilabju, send in your query again. I cannot see, like, if it must have gone, because a number of queries have came after your query, na Nilabju, so send it again. So income recognition का क्या है? Policy of income recognition should be objected based on record of recovery rather than subjective. Subjective consideration क्या था कि कितना net worth है of the borrower or the guarantor, and income from the NPA is not recognized on approval, but it is booked as income only when it is actually received, and it has been discussed later on, with which we have done. So interbank balances, Nilabjo, see, if like A bank is there, it has given some loan to the other bank. ठीक है, और it has deposited some amount with RBI, so on those advances interest income will come, है ना, so that is also included in interest income. Or let's say the bank has taken some amount from the other bank, interbank हो गया ना वो, ठीक है नीलाभ जो, ठीक है. Form and content of financial statement, we have seen that section 29 of Banking Regulation Act, third schedule क्या कहता है, that form A में आपका balance sheet आएगा and form B में P&L आएगा. Further, see, I have given an MCQ on this topic also. Every banking company needs to comply with the disclosure requirements. Disclosure requirement under the various accounting standards as applicable as specified under section 133 and insofar as they apply to the banking companies. ठीक है, is it clear? ठीक है. So I have mentioned there that banks are not required to comply, or a question like this, so you need to be clear that schedule 3 to the Companies Act as such is not applicable, but accounting standards तो follow करने हैं. वो कहाँ लिखा है? section 133 में लिखा है. And banks के financial statement कैसे बनेंगे? By as per schedule 3 to the Banking Regulation Act 1949, form A and form B. Is it clear? So students tell me, ये जो अभी मैं आपको क्विकली करवा रही हूँ समझ आ रहा है ना? ऐसे तो नहीं है कि बहुत फास्ट लग रहा है या कुछ ऐसा, कुछ नया तो टॉपिक नहीं कर रहे हैं आज हम. लाइक अभी हम सेंडिंग योर रिप्लाईज. तो सिद्धार्थ सिंह, यस मैम, अंडरस्टैंडिंग, सो दैट इज गुड. ठीक है, तो ऑडिट ऑफ अकाउंट्स आपका कौन करेगा? द पर्सन हु इज ड्यूली क्वालिफाइड टू बी अपॉइंटेड एज ऑडिटर ऑफ कंपनी. तो देखो अभी चैप्टर 10 का नॉलेज आ गया ना सारा, है ना? चैप्टर 10 का नॉलेज है ना सब? ठीक है. ऐसी एलिजिबिलिटी, क्वालिफिकेशन, डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन, ये भी क्या कह रहे हैं चैप्टर 10 में जाओ. तो यू ऑल हैव डन दैट. तो वैनरेडी सिंह समझ आ रहा है? स्मिता सिंह मैम, स्पीड इज फाइन. सो हिमांशु सिंह, गलती से पढ़ लिया था सब सुबह आज, तो दैट्स गुड. अगर आपने गलती, ऐसी वाली गलती इज गुड. अगर आपने गलती से ये सब पढ़ लिया, दैट इज गुड. सो अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ ऑडिटर. अब देखो आई टोल्ड यू ना कि आरआरबी के केस में द स्पॉन्सरिंग बैंक जो होता है उसका कुछ रोल होता है अपॉइंटमेंट ऑफ ऑडिटर का. सो अ पॉइंट रिलेटिंग टू दैट विल कम. So the auditor of a banking company is appointed at AGM, है ना? कंपनी का तो आपको पता है ना, AGM में होता है ना? तो योर HDFC बैंक, ICICI, एक्सिस बैंक, ये कौन अपॉइंट करता है AGM में? बाय द शेयर होल्डर्स. ठीक है. The auditor of a nationalized bank is to be appointed by the bank concerned acting through board of directors, and in both cases approval of RBI is required. तो nationalized bank कौन से हैं? तो students, nationalized banks वो होते हैं, so those the banks which begin as a private sector bank and then these are eventually taken over by the government, है ना? जैसे आपका PNB, your BOP, जो अभी हमने ये पढ़ा ना, if you remember, जो 2 एक्ट पढ़े थे. So here 14 banks were nationalized. Here 6 banks were nationalized. कहाँ पर? यहाँ पर, है ना? तो these are what nationalized bank. जो पहले private थे, later on these were taken over by the गवर्नमेंट, है ना? तो उस केस में बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स अपॉइंट करता है. और यहाँ पर कंपनी जहाँ HDFC, आपका एक्सिस बैंक या आपका ICICI, कैसे होता है उसका नाम? HDFC बैंक लिमिटेड होता है ना, ICICI लिमिटेड होता है ना. तो ये जो कंपनी फॉर्म में होते हैं ये AGM में शेयर होल्डर्स अपॉइंट करते हैं एंड RBI अप्रूवल इज रिक्वायर्ड. ऑडिटर्स ऑफ SBI, देखो SBI का तो देयर वाज अ सेपरेट एक्ट आल्सो ना, जो हमने अभी ऊपर पढ़ा. स्टेट बैंक ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट, है ना? तो SBI का कौन अपॉइंट करता है? सो वन ऑफ यू वाज आस्किंग मैम, CAG का कुछ रोल आएगा यहाँ पर? हाँ आएगा, देखो. So the auditors of SBI are to be appointed by Comptroller and Auditor General of India in consultation with CAG, in consultation with CG. ठीक है. And auditors of subsidiaries of State Bank of India कौन करता है? SBI करता है. And RRB का क्या करता है? Are to be appointed by the bank concerned. Bank concerned का क्या मतलब है? The sponsoring bank. जैसे पंजाब ग्रामीण में आई टोल्ड यू PNB का स्पॉन्सरशिप है along with what? Approval of CG, because CG का भी स्टेक होता है. एंड एसजी का भी स्टेक होता है, ठीक है। रेम्यूनरेशन, तो रेम्यूनरेशन ऑफ अ बैंकिंग कंपनी तो आपका सेक्शन 142 अप्लाई होगा अगेन, चैप्टर नंबर 10 पढ़ लो फिर से, ठीक है, जस्ट अ मिनट, ठीक है। एंड रेम्यूनरेशन ऑफ नेशनलाइज्ड एंड एसबीआई बैंक कौन करता है? आरबीआई इन कंसल्टेशन विद सीजी। सिंपल है, एक बार ही रीड करोगे ना सब लर्न हो जाएगा, ठीक है। पावर्स ऑफ ऑडिटर्स क्या है? वही सब है, दैट access to books of accounts, documents, vouchers, everything like that, ठीक है। Now auditors report, so nationalized बैंक की कहाँ जाएगी? सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट को जाएगी। एंड देखो ये जो आपके ये वाले बैंक्स हैं कंपनी, तो अगर आप एक्सिस बैंक की देखोगे ना, ये किसको जाती है? टू द शेयर होल्डर्स। इनको अपॉइंट कौन कर रहा है? शेयर होल्डर्स ना, ठीक है। तो नेशनलाइज बैंक की कहां जा रही है? टू सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट। एंड देखो क्या क्या आएगा, वेदर द फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट रिप्रेजेंटेड ट्रू एंड फेयर व्यू ऑफ द अफेयर्स ऑफ द बैंक, and in case he has called for any explanation information, whether it has been given or not, whether all information has been provided. Remember 143 subsection 3 का first point यही था। Nilabji, your doubt is not clear. Please reframe it and send it again. Whether or not transactions of the bank which had come to the notice have been within the powers of that bank. तो देखो 143 subsection 3 में तो ये point नहीं था, but this is from where? Banking Regulation Act से. So whether within the powers of bank है या नहीं, whether or not the returns received from branches of the banks have found adequate, ये तो 143 subsection 3 का ही आ रहा है. And any other matter which he considers should be brought to the notice of CG, ये भी extra point है. The report of auditors of SBI is also made to CG and is identical to the report that you have done for nationalized bank. तो format तो almost same रहेगा, ठीक है. Now format is the same as you have done in chapter number 11 and we have seen the report of SBI also, ठीक है. Further, students quickly tell me, CARO 2020 पर reporting आएगी बैंक के केस में? Send in your replies, a yes or no. A quick yes or no. So for all those who have revised, who have learned chapter 10 and 11, this discussion is going to be simple, easy for them and a quick revision for them. But जिसे नहीं पढ़ा है, please start learning, please start going. अरे यार, I'll repeat my question. क्या CARO 2020 का रिपोर्टिंग बैंक्स के केस में आता है? Now send in your replies because many of the answers are incorrect. CARO 2020 का रिपोर्टिंग बैंक्स के केस में आएगा, बैंकिंग कंपनीज के केस में? Siddharth, send in your reply again. Smitha, you also send in your reply again. So CARO 2020 में एक्सेप्शन था ना, बैंकिंग कंपनी, इंश्योरेंस कंपनी. बताओ. सी फ्रॉड केस में स्पेशलिस्ट तो इन्वॉल्व करने पड़ेंगे ना. अगर लेट्स से स्विफ्ट कोडिंग से रिलेटेड कुछ फ्रॉड हुआ है जो एक्चुअल में अभी हुआ था, तो उसमें ऑडिटर विल इन्वॉल्व स्पेशलिस्ट ना. अगर कुछ कोर बैंकिंग सोल्यूशन सीबीएस सिस्टम के साथ ही कुछ छेड़खानी हुई है, सम टेम्परिंग हैज बीन डन, तो दैट पर्सन विल बी इन्वॉल्व ना. हिरल, इज इट क्लियर? टेक्निकल एस्पेक्ट तो वही देखेंगे ना, ठीक है. तो बैंकिंग एंड इंश्योरेंस पे एप्लीकेबल नहीं होता. तो देखो फॉर्मेट कहां से करना है आपको? चैप्टर नंबर 11 से. एंड सी, द ऑडिटर शुड इंश्योर दैट not only the information relating to the number of unaudited branches is given, but the quantification of advances, deposit, interest and interest expense of such audited branches should also have been disclosed in the audit report. Such disclosure in the audit report is not only in accordance with the best international trends, but provides useful information to the users of the financial statement. अब देखो आप, यहाँ पर हमने mention किया था ना, just a minute. So ये देखो यहाँ पर था ना, here अब आई एम नॉट एबल टू राइट, बट देखो The returns from 15977 Indian branch which have not been subjected to audit, these unaudited branch constitute amount for 17.62% of advances, 33.76 of deposit. देखो सब लिखा है ना, तो यही practically होगा आपका when you will see the practical audit report or practical audit of banks. So it is specifically mentioned. ठीक है, clear? So I hope all these discussions from a practical audit report is helping you out in understanding and in remembering as to what is mentioned in this book and this module. Okay? However, it is pertinent to mention that, see, it may be noted that in addition to aforesaid, the auditor of the bank of the company is also of a banking company is also required to state in his report the matters covered in section 143 of the Companies Act. है ना, ये हमने पढ़ा है. However, it is pertinent to mention that requirements of CARO ये 2020 हो जाएगा is not applicable to the banking company. Clear? ठीक है. Now LFAR क्या होता है? Long form audit report. So though we have seen the format, but ये आप पढ़ लो. Besides the audit report as per the statutory requirements discussed above, the terms of appointment of the auditors of public sector company, private sector companies, foreign banks, as well as their branches. देखो branch auditor को भी लिखना है ना. Require the auditor to furnish a long form audit report LFAR. The matters which the bank required their auditors to deal with in the LFAR have been specified by RBI, and this is to be submitted by 30th June every year. है ना. तो अब आप देख लो, this is important question ना. आपका MCQ में आ सकता है, true false में आ सकता है. To ensure timely submission of LFAR, proper planning for completion of LFAR is required. Students quickly send in your replies. ये सब discussion जो हमने SBI का report देखा, LFAR देखा, ये आपको help कर रहा है या नहीं, and whether जो भी अभी तक हम पढ़ रहे हैं समझ आ रहा है. ठीक है. Now reporting to RBI. So though RBI has issued a circular relating to implementation of recommendations of Committee on Legal Aspects of Bank Frauds applicable to all scheduled commercial banks excluding RRB. ठीक है. So basically fraud से related requirement है. Then SA 250 consideration of laws and regulations in an audit of financial statements. ठीक है. सो ये भी करना है. ऐसे 240 का रिक्वायरमेंट. एंड स्टूडेंट्स यू विल सी, देखो एज इट इज है ना चैप्टर नंबर 5 से फ्रॉड रिपोर्टिंग, तो ऑल दैट विल अप्लाई टू अ बैंक ऑडिटर ऑल्सो. आई एम जस्ट हैविंग अ लुक एट योर क्वेरीज. मीनवाइल जस्ट रीड दिस. है ना, आप थोड़ा सा रीडिंग खुद भी करो. See, reading is not enough only. Keywords तो learning is very much required. हाँ, keywords learn करो. बाकी when you will go through the module once, twice, thrice, and when you will listen to these sessions, ना, so the language will come automatically. है ना, वो flow of language will automatically come. But keywords तो देखो, technical language कुछ तो demanded है ही ना, तो आपको keywords तो pick करने ही पड़ेंगे ना. है ना. ठीक है चारू. So we will give last 4-5 minutes as to how to prepare for this audit subject. ठीक है. So अभी ये complete करते हैं. And auditor's responsibility relating to fraud, D2D report on fraud, section 143 subsection 12. ये सब आपने किया है ना. ठीक है. Now कैसे होगा audit? So देखो, this is an important point. Declaration of indebtedness. So the auditor will file a declaration of indebtedness. देखो, this is very normal ना, कि अगर आप HDFC का audit करने जा रहे हो and you or any of the partner of your firm has taken a loan from that bank, है ना. So the RBI has advised that banks, before appointing their statutory central auditors, should obtain a declaration of indebtedness. Indebtedness का क्या मतलब है? Situation of owing money to the bank in any case whatsoever. So the auditor needs to file a declaration of indebtedness कि I am not indebted to the bank. Simple. तो you may get true false that declaration of indebtedness की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. So which is not correct. Same internal assignments in banks by statutory auditor. So I told you that concurrent audit are kind of internal audit of banks conducted on a conducted monthly during the year, है ना. So it basically says that if the auditor is is to be appointed as statutory central auditor, he should not be associated with any of the internal assignments. है ना, सेक्शन 144 में किया था ना, है ना, तो ऑलमोस्ट सेम है. ठीक है. देन प्लानिंग 300 के अकॉर्डिंग करनी है, 220 के अकॉर्डिंग क्वालिटी कंट्रोल करना है, ऐसे 210 के अकॉर्डिंग एग्री इन द टर्म्स ऑफ ऑडिट एंगेजमेंट करना है. सिंपल है. देन देयर इज दिस सेपरेट पॉइंट दैट कम्युनिकेशन विद प्रीवियस ऑडिटर. सो एज पर द सीए एक्ट 1949, है ना, एज पर क्लॉज 8 ऑफ पार्ट 1 ऑफ फर्स्ट शेड्यूल टू चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट एक्ट 1949. जस्ट अ मिनट, माय पीडीएफ इज गॉन, जस्ट अ मिनट. देखो, लोन नहीं लिया होना चाहिए. इंडेटनेस का क्या मतलब है? लोन लिया हुआ है, आपने पैसा डिपॉजिट किया हुआ है, उसके लिए तो कहीं नहीं लिखा है नीलाभ जो. सो दिस, अच्छा, वी वर ऑन चैप्टर नंबर 12, है ना. सो कहाँ पर थे हम? वेट, सो वी वर हियर, है ना. तो एज पर क्लॉज 8 ऑफ पार्ट 1 of the first schedule to Chartered Accountant Act 1949, a chartered accountant in practice cannot accept position as auditor previously held by another chartered accountant without first communicating with him in writing. He should get a no objection certificate from the previous auditor through his communication as to know whether he has any objections for the appointment for any valid reasons. है ना, सिंपल है. ये आपने किया हुआ है, यस, चैप्टर 10. ठीक है. ठीक है, इज इट क्लियर? हाँ, तो देर इज अ क्वेरी. किसका है ये, हितेश? विद रिस्पेक्ट टू दिस पैराग्राफ, देखो ये क्या बोल रहा है. इफ एनी अकाउंटिंग प्रोफेशनल, मतलब द सर्कुलर सेज, ये आरबीआई का सर्कुलर को ही रेफर कर रहा है ना, तो इट सेज दैट टॉपिक क्या था? रिपोर्टिंग टू आरबीआई. तो आरबीआई क्या बोलता है? अगर कोई भी प्रोफेशनल, है ना, अकाउंटिंग प्रोफेशनल, तो ऑडिटर इज इंक्लूडेड हियर. इंटरनल या एक्सटर्नल ऑडिट में, मतलब अगर आप इंटरनल मतलब कॉन्करेंट ऑडिट में, एक्सटर्नल मतलब स्टैट्यूटरी सेंट्रल ऑडिट या स्टैट्यूटरी ब्रांच ऑडिट कर रहे हो आप. In the process of bank audit, institutional audit मतलब bank audit, finds anything susceptible is what? Doubtful, है ना, to be fraud or fraudulent activity or act of express power or smell of any foul play in any transaction. कहीं पर भी लगता है misuse of power है. एक्ट ऑफ एक्सप्रेस पावर इज मिसयूज ऑफ पावर. जितना आपका ऑथराइजेशन था उससे ज्यादा आपने लोन सैंक्शन किया हुआ है. स्मेल ऑफ फाउल प्ले, रेगुलराइजेशन ड्यूरिंग द बैलेंस शीट डेट. अगर ऐसा कुछ भी लगता है, ही शुड रेफर द मैटर टू द रेगुलेटर, आरबीआई को. Any deliberate failure on part of the auditor should render himself liable for action, है ना. अगर वो खुद से नहीं बता रहा है, though he was aware, then he will be held guilty for professional misconduct. Simple. हितेश, is it clear? अब ये समझ आ गया. एक्सेस पावर क्या है? जितना, लेट्स से, सी पावर्स आर गिवन, है ना, कि ब्रांच ऑफिस लेवल पे इतना पावर है, देन उससे एक्सीड करना है लोन को, तो वो जोनल ऑफिस लेवल पे होएगा, और उससे भी ऊपर जाना है तो हेड ऑफिस लेवल पर होएगा. ठीक है. सो अगर पावर्स को बियॉन्ड दैट पावर, एक्ट ऑफ एक्सेस पावर, आपने जो आपको पावर दिया था उससे ऊपर जाके लोन दे दिया, या स्मेल एनी फाउल प्ले, कि कुछ कल्यूजन लग रहा है ऑडिटर को, कि ब्रांच मैनेजर एंड लेट्स से नीरव मोदी में कुछ कल्यूजन चल रहा है, ऑडिटर को पहले से ही पता चल गया है, तो ऑडिटर नीड्स टू रिपोर्ट इट ना. ठीक है. हीरल, इज इट क्लियर? हीरल हैज अ डाउट इन दिस. देन हितेश, सो सेंड इन योर रिप्लाईज. क्लियर है? बहुत सारे ऑडिटर्स होते हैं कार्तिक. ठीक है. बहुत सारे बैंक्स हैं, बहुत सारे ऑडिट असाइनमेंट्स हैं, बहुत सारे ऑडिटर्स हैं, तो ऐसा थोड़ी ना कि कोई ऑडिटर नहीं मिलेगा बैंक के लिए. ठीक है. सेम वे एंगेजमेंट ऐसे 210 के अकॉर्डिंग ऑडिटर विल डू ऑल दिस सो एज टू अवॉइड एनी कंफ्यूजन एवरीथिंग. इनिशियल ऑडिट एंगेजमेंट है तो ऐसे 510 विल बी कंसीडर्ड. एंगेजमेंट रिस्क को कंसीडर करना है, एस्टैब्लिश करना है एंगेजमेंट टीम को. सिंपल है ना. हीरल एंड हितेश, रेगुलेटर आरबीआई हो गया ना हीरल, ठीक है. एंगेजमेंट टीम का देखना है आपको. ऐसे 315 करोगे ना, आइडेंटिफाइंग एंड असेसिंग द रिस्क ऑफ मटेरियल मिसस्टेटमेंट थ्रू अंडरस्टैंडिंग द एंटिटी एंड इट्स एनवायरनमेंट, सब करना है ना. देन अंडरस्टैंडिंग द बैंक एंड इट्स एनवायरनमेंट, आइडेंटिफाई एंड असेस रिस्क, डेवलपमेंट ऑडिट प्लान, बैंक अकाउंटिंग प्रोसेस को समझना है. सब कुछ सिंपल है ना. अब देखो, देर इज अ क्वेश्चन, दिस इज अगेन अ पास एग्जामिनेशन क्वेश्चन. अंडरस्टैंडिंग द रिस्क मैनेजमेंट प्रोसेस, क्या करना ऑडिटर को. देखो, सो मैनेजमेंट डेवलप्स एंड कंट्रोल यूजेस परफॉर्मेंस इंडिकेटर्स टू एड इन मैनेजिंग की बिजनेस फाइनेंशियल रिस्क. एंड इफेक्टिव रिस्क मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम में क्या आना चाहिए. ओवरसाइट बाय दोस्त गवर्नेंस होना चाहिए, ठीक है. देन आइडेंटिफिकेशन एंड मेजरमेंट एंड मॉनिटरिंग ऑफ रिस्क, जो भी रिस्क है एसोसिएटेड तो उसका आइडेंटिफिकेशन, मॉनिटरिंग, मेजरमेंट होना चाहिए. फिर उससे रिलेटेड कंट्रोल एक्टिविटीज होना चाहिए, लाइक सेग्रीगेशन ऑफ ड्यूटी होना चाहिए, अप्रूवल ऑफ ट्रांजैक्शन है नहीं, रिकंसिलिएशन होना चाहिए, एक्सेप्शन रिपोर्ट जनरेट होनी चाहिए, ठीक है. मॉनिटरिंग एक्टिविटीज होनी चाहिए ऑन अ रेगुलर बेसिस एंड दिस शुड बी एन इंडिपेंडेंट फंक्शन. देन रिलायबल इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम होना चाहिए. सिंपल है ना. बट ये सिंपल है इफ यू हैव गॉन थ्रू दिस चैप्टर वंस और ट्वाइस. अगर आपने पढ़ा ही नहीं है फिर तो आप इसमें क्या लिखोगे बताओ. बट इफ यू हैव गॉन थ्रू कि पहले दो स्टार विद गवर्नेंस का ओवरसाइट होना चाहिए, आइडेंटिफाई, मेजरमेंट एंड मॉनिटरिंग होना चाहिए, कंट्रोल एक्टिविटीज होनी चाहिए, मॉनिटरिंग एक्टिविटीज होना चाहिए, एंड देन आपका रिलायबल इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम होना चाहिए. ठीक है. इज इट क्लियर? हियर टेल मी वेदर योर डाउट इज क्लियर और नॉट. ठीक है. सो एंगेजमेंट टीम डिस्कशन होना चाहिए. ओवरऑल ऑडिट स्ट्रैटेजी भी आप करोगे ऐसे 300 के अकॉर्डिंग. फिर आप डेवलप करोगे ऑडिट प्लान. ऑडिट प्लानिंग मेमोरेंडम करोगे, मतलब उसमें आप समराइज, मेमोरेंडाइज व्हाट आई ऑलवेज टेल यू, समराइजेशन होता है. oversight in respect of financial statement nilabjo, it is related to what? Supervision. Oversight matlab supervision by those charged with governance, है ना. You all have done now. What is the difference between management and those charged with governance? So where there is a separation of management and those charged with governance, small firms में तो owner ही manager होता है, manager ही owner होता है, तो वहां bifurcation नहीं होता those charged with governance और management में. But listed entities में तो अलग से audit committee आपका बनता है, तो those charged with governance में audit committee आ जाता है. तो these are responsible for oversight, supervision of financial statements. ठीक है नीलाब्जो, is it clear? ठीक है. डिटरमाइन ऑडिट मटेरियलिटी ऐसे 320 लगा देते हैं, ठीक है. कंसीडर गोइंग कंसर्न ऐसे 570 लगा देते हैं. नाउ विद रिस्पेक्ट टू this is again an past examination question. Assess the risk of fraud including money laundering. अब money laundering क्या होता है? Quickly send in replies if any one of you is aware. Money laundering. Quickly, just 2 topics are left which are to be discussed. Then I'll quickly take a quick revision, ठीक है, and then your doubts. मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग क्या होता है? हाँ, so basically it is a kind of criminal act only, है ना, whereby the concerned person, he tries to hide the illegal source of income like drug trafficking, है ना, through some legal means. ठीक है. So that in order to prevent the money laundering, what is the recourse that the bank opts? If you are aware that KYC norms are there, है ना. जब भी आपको कोई बैंक अकाउंट ओपन करवाना है या कुछ भी ट्रांजैक्शन करना है, सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल KYC फॉर्म फिल करते हो ना. सो देखो क्या लिखा हुआ है इसके अंदर. Assess the risk of fraud including money laundering. So in terms of SA 240, the auditor's responsibility relating to fraud in an audit of financial statement, the auditor's objective is to identify and assess the risk of material misstatement due to fraud and to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence on those identified misstatement and to respond appropriately. कोई problem है नहीं, simple है. The attitude of professional skepticism should be maintained by auditor in order to recognize the possibility. है ना। तो देखो अगर इसको समराइज करना है तो मैं क्या बोलूंगी, आइडेंटिफाई एंड एसेस करना है रिस्क ऑफ मटेरियल मिसस्टेटमेंट में, एंड आपको सफिशिएंट एप्रोप्रिएट ऑडिट एविडेंस लेना है, एंड ऑडिटर को प्रोफेशनल स्केप्टिसिज्म लगाना है, ठीक है। सो फॉर ऑल दोज हु आर सेइंग दैट मैम यू गॉट अ रैंक इन फाउंडेशन एंड फाइनल एंड हाउ हैव यू studied for your audit subject. So this is the technique that I always follow. Try to summarize, है ना. These summaries are going to help you in the one day examination preparation leave, है ना, जहां आप रिवाइज कर रहे हो, तो यही वाले सब आपको हेल्प करेंगे. कितना इजी हो जाता है ना कि आइडेंटिफाई एंड असेस रिस्क ऑफ मटेरियल मिसस्टेटमेंट करना है, सफिशिएंट एप्रोप्रिएट ऑडिट एविडेंस लेना है, प्रोफेशनल स्केप्टिसिज्म लगाना है, ठीक है. द आरबीआई हैज फ्रेम्ड स्पेसिफिक गाइडलाइंस. अब हमने बताया ऑडिटर को क्या करना है, अब यहाँ पर हम बता रहे हैं आरबीआई ने क्या किया हुआ है. विद डील विद प्रिवेंशन ऑफ मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग एंड केवाईसी norms. The RBI has from time to time issued guidelines, KYC, know your customer guidelines, and anti money laundering standards, requiring bank to establish policies, procedures, and controls to deter and to recognize and report on money laundering activities. Simple. हाँ, सो केवाईसी अब इतना जरूरी है कि बैंक्स फिर आपके बैंक ऑपरेशन को स्टॉप कर देते हैं इफ द केवाईसी इज नॉट कंप्लीट, ठीक है. नाउ हाउ टू असेस स्पेसिफिक रिस्क, ऑडिटर शुड आइडेंटिफाई एंड असेस रिस्क, ये सब सेम है. देखो risk associated with outsourcing of functions, huh? So there may be number of functions which have been outsourced by bank, है ना. So auditor needs to consider that also. Then 330 में auditors responses to assess risk बनाने हैं, this you can do. Then last is what 16 point I'll take up, reliance on or review of other reports. So the auditor should take into account adverse comments, if any, on advances appearing in the following: previous year auditor report, later in internal inspection reports of bank officials, Reserve Bank's latest inspection report, or concurrent internal auditor report. ठीक है, सिंपल है, ठीक है. Now with respect to Basel 3 framework, so Basel 3 framework, quickly tell me, have any one of you heard about this Basel 3 norms? Basel क्या है? Quickly send in your replies. This is the last topic of this chapter which we will discuss, and then I'll definitely take all of your queries. वैसे तो I'm taking up your queries side by side, but still if any of the queries is left, I'll definitely take that up. Nilabjo, I could not understand what have you written. So see, Basel 3 framework. So Basel is basically a city in Switzerland, whereby, so Basel is the what? It is the name of a city in Switzerland, whereby the international meeting with respect to establishment of norms and accords was held. ठीक है. So Basel Committee on Banking Supervision and Financial Stability Board है. Those which have undertaken the extensive review of regulatory framework. तो Basel 3 framework में basically क्या है? It has introduced a set of reforms, है ना, कुछ reforms लेके आए थे banking sector में to improve the regulation, supervision and risk management of banking sector. तो basically Basel 3 framework क्या बताता है कि जो भी बैंक की कैपिटल रिक्वायरमेंट है ना, वो ऐसा होना चाहिए. जो भी बैंक की मार्केट लिक्विडिटी रिस्क, जो भी वेरियस रेशियोज है ना, लिवरेज रेशियोज, वो ऐसा होना चाहिए. सो ये इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे डिसाइड हुआ था विद रिस्पेक्ट टू ऑल द बैंक्स, एंड इट वाज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड इन December 2010. After, see students, if you remember, in 2007, from 2007 to 2010 there was a financial crisis, है ना. There was subprime crisis. उसके बाद ये Basel norms 2003 आए थे, whereby the purpose was to make the bank and the banking system resilient. मतलब strong bank and banking system हो कि कुछ भी market में up down हो तो bank should not get affected, bank should not be run out. ठीक है. So see, Basel norms or accords are the international banking regulations issued by BCBS, that is Basel Committee on Bank Supervision, and the Financial Stability Board, FSB, has undertaken the extensive review of regulatory framework in the wake of subprime crisis. जो financial crisis 2007 से 2010 में आया था ना, in wake of that this was done. So document title Basel 3 came. So earlier there was Basel 1 and Basel 2, then Basel 3 came, which is a global regulatory framework for more resilient. Resilient is what? Strong. Banks and banking system. It was released by BCBS in December 2010. It has inter alia, matlab among other things. Inter alia is what? Among other things, it has proposed certain minimum set of criteria for inclusion in instruments in new definition of regulatory capital. कि bank का जो capital है ना, so the capital adequacy of banks was defined कि बैंक की capital में ये सब आना चाहिए. The set of agreement by BCBS, which mainly focuses on risk to bank and the financial system, are called what? Basel Accord. है ना? So basically क्या है? It is an international regulatory accord which introduced a set of what? Reforms designed to improve regulation, supervision, and risk management of banking system in order to make a resilient, a strong bank and banking system. और Basel क्या है? It is the name of a city in Switzerland. ठीक है? So students are saying that, ma'am, we have done this topic today itself in advanced accounting, which is very good. Okay? And incumbent, here it means the person who is leaving the position. So in managers charge handling over report. तो basically अगर कोई person छोड़ के जा रहा है तो उसको क्या बोलेंगे? Incumbent. अगर अपना ऑफिस छोड़ के जा रहा है, incumbent officer. ठीक है हिरन? ठीक है. So students tell me, so many of you are saying that we have almost discussed same thing in our advanced auditing. So I am sure that your advanced auditing knowledge with respect to all this Basel and capital adequacy ratio, that must have helped you in understanding the auditing concepts. So students, this is done. So what I'll do is I'll quickly take you through the entire module. Meanwhile, keep on sending your queries. I'll definitely resolve them. And see, so audit of banks में you are aware about what are the various kinds of banks, है ना? Then we did RBI का. अच्छा, who was asking me regulator कौन है? So देखो, the functioning of banking industry is regulated by RBI. Hiral, I think this was your query. So the various acts, है ना? Then we did the various types of reports, है ना? Then internal control over financial reporting, SLR requirements, compliance, LFAR, treasury operations, IREC norms and provisioning, serious irregularities हैं, घोष कमेटी, चिलानी कमेटी. ठीक है? Then bank audit approach same रहेगा. इसमें topic जो different है वो आपका ये examination question है. Advantages of engagement in discussion. Income recognition you have seen. Then balance sheet is, the format is given in form A and B of section 29 to the Banking Regulation Act. Like it is given in third schedule. ठीक है? Appointment of auditor you have seen. ठीक है? Then ये सब कुछ सेम चल रहा है. यहाँ पर हमने एक्स्ट्रा जो एडिशनल टॉपिक किए हैं, that is what declaration of indebtedness, right? Then you have seen what money laundering वाला topic. Then the Basel 3 norms. ठीक है? Advances में funded, non-funded. Then mode of creation of securities we have seen. ठीक है? And I have given a number of questions. This is a very important topic. MCQs true false के लिए. ठीक है? Mode of security creation. ठीक है? Then we saw NPA में substandard, doubtful and loss आते हैं. Standard में आपका standard आते हैं, but कुछ यहाँ पर भी provisioning होती है. तो SMA, that is special mention 0, 1 and 2. तो early warning signals हैं. Early warning signals हैं. ठीक है? So students, let us do one thing. Let us just quickly do the MCQs that I have shared with you. ठीक है? So quickly, since now we have done the entire chapter, कुछ भी topic ऐसा नहीं है that we have left. Quickly send in your replies 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and the answers. What should be the answer for first question? Let me just have a look at your queries. So students, See students, acha, I'll just a minute before doing these questions. So many of you are saying, ma'am, how to get a rank? How have you prepared for your exams? And so Bhardwaj, you'll definitely get an exemption in your auditing exam, and I'm sure that all of you are going to pass this exam, and more specifically auditing and assurance exam with flying colors. ठीक है? पर उसके लिए देखो आपको क्या करना है. So you all have gone through these sessions, Hana. Further, your module, you need to read it in entirety because जो illustrations, जो examples लिखे होते हैं ना, वो ऐसे नहीं लिखे होते कि these are to be ignored. You can get any of the MCQs, case scenarios, true, false out of those case studies, those illustrations and examples, है ना? And try to summarize, है ना? जहां पर pointers हैं, I always tell you कि side में आप छोटा सा अपने language के according the language that you understand आप उसमें लिख सकते हो, एक summary, arrow flow chart बना सकते हो, or you may take a highlighter and just mark the keywords. So there was a doubt, someone was asking, Charu I think, she was asking, ma'am सिर्फ reading से काम चल जाएगा? देखो रीडिंग करना है कॉन्सेंट्रेशन से, और एक रीडिंग से काम नहीं चलेगा. एटलीस्ट ट्वाइस यू हैव टू गो थ्रू द मॉड्यूल एंड लिसन टू दीज सेशंस. एंड उसके बाद कीवर्ड्स तो आपको लिखना ही पड़ेगा ना. सी बिटवीन यू एंड द पेपर चेकर इज योर एग्जामिनेशन शीट, है ना. तो जो आप लिखोगे उसी के लिए मार्क्स मिलेंगे ना. और जो आपने थोड़ा बहुत कीवर्ड्स पिक करोगे तो कुछ तो प्रैक्टिकल आपसे भी एक्सपेक्ट किया जाएगा ना. सम टेक्निकल लैंग्वेज. सी दिस इज अ प्रोफेशनल एग्जाम, तो वी आर नॉट सेइंग दैट यू नीड टू क्रैम. कीवर्ड्स तो आप खुद से पिक कर सकते हो ना. देन यूज योर कनेक्टिंग लैंग्वेज, है ना. And many of you always ask me, ma'am, essays, name of the sections and everything. See students, if you do not remember them at the time of writing the paper, then do not write wrong names or wrong numbers. फिर तो relevant section ही लिखोगे ना. But obviously it is an added advantage if you write the correct name, correct numbers, and whatever is given in your module is the base that you have to do. उसके बाद अगर आपको auditing pronouncements या आपको कुछ डिटेल में करना है, then that is your wish, your it is totally based on your wish and the time available with you. But the module is to be considered as a base, है ना. And definitely you are required to learn the keywords. आप बोलो कि keywords भी अपनी लैंग्वेज में लिख दो, तो क्या प्रॉब्लम है. आप जब कॉन्सेप्ट को याद करो तो keywords तो पिक कर ही सकते हो ना. Try to summarize the chapters and start learning. अगर जिसने chapter number 10, 11 as and when it has come in this module, in fact if you will see chapter number 12 में ना आपका सारे chapters का कहीं ना कहीं reference था. All the essays were referred. Chapter number 9 का knowledge था, 10 का था, 11 का था. तो अगर आपको अब फील हो गया है कि कुछ प्रॉब्लम है, कुछ नहीं पढ़ा है ठीक से, then start learning. अभी भी बहुत टाइम है, ठीक है. सो और अगर फोकस कि मेरे को 100% पढ़ के जाना है तो रैंक पक्का आएगा. क्यों नहीं आएगा, ठीक है. थोड़ा सा प्रेजेंटेशन भी अच्छा करो. एवरीथिंग मैटर्स, ठीक है. So now let us go to your MCQs. So the answer to question number first is what? C. A term loan should be considered as non-performing asset when the interest or the installment of principal remain overdue for a period of more than 90 days. है ना? A bank should consider a short duration crop as non-performing when it remains overdue for a period of overdue for 2 crop season. Which of the following is not correct? Form of balance sheet of bank is given in Schedule 3 to Companies Act. This is not correct. Banking companies need to comply. See, ये हटा दो यहाँ से, ठीक है, ठीक है. Banking companies need to comply with accounting standards as applicable. This is correct. So whether only statement 1 is correct, नहीं, 1 तो correct नहीं है. Only statement 2 is correct, नहीं, हाँ ये ठीक आ रहा है. Both is ठीक है. So the answer is what? Point B. ठीक है, ठीक है. Now fourth question. Which of the following statement is not correct? Read the question carefully. I always tell you कि questions easy होते हैं MCQs में, but हमने ऊपर question ही ठीक से नहीं पढ़ा होता, तो not correct बोल रहा है. In respect of mode of creation. So pledge involves delivery of goods by borrower to the lending banks with intention of creating the charge. ये तो correct है. हम gold दे के आते हैं ना. In case of hypothecation, ownership of security is transferred. नहीं, this is not correct. Equitable mortgage can be effected by mere delivery of title of goods of documents. Yes, this is correct. An assignment gives assignee absolute right over the monies and yes. So the answer is what? B. ठीक है. Fifth, dash is the statutory right of a creditor to adjust whether partly to debit balance in the debtors account. So adjust कर रहे हैं ना, assignment नहीं है, registered mortgage नहीं है, hypothecation नहीं है, ये क्या है? Set off है. So students, I hope it is clear. है ना? थोड़ा सा पढ़ो, पढ़ना तो पड़ेगा ही, तभी पेपर क्लियर होएगा और तभी आपकी रैंक भी आएगी. एंड आई एम श्योर दैट यू ऑल विल पास दिस एग्जाम विद फ्लाइंग कलर्स. माय बेस्ट विशेस आर विद यू. एंड since today is my last session with all of you for this session, for this batch number 5 of LBC. So here I would like to thank you all. Thank you for your patient listening, for giving me extra 15 minutes or 20 minutes after the end of the session. And I request you all to please start learning. Please start reading the module if you haven't yet. And you will definitely pass with your flying colors. My best wishes are with you. And in fact, all your subjects, the entire your intermediate result is going to be very good. Okay? So thank you for being a patient listener, and do come in the next session, in the next batch, to tell us about your scores. As part of a student of our last batch number 4, he specially came to our session of batch number 5 to tell us that he has secured a rank and he secured 67 in audit, and all because of these classes. So all such things really motivate us. So please do that, and I'm sure you all will pass your exams with flying color. Wishing you all the very best and wishing you a very happy learning. So students, thank you and a good night, and start learning for all those, start studying for all those who haven't started yet. Thank you so much. Thank you.